Hey, everybody. Welcome to Idio Talk, a Radiohead podcast. I am Walker Glenn.
I'm Zach Glenn.
It's great to be back with you folks again this week. So just a quick bit of business up top. This is part 2 of our coverage of A Moon-Shaped Pool. So last week, Zach and I went over the whole background of the album, and this week we're going to be going through the tracks themselves with a guest. Now, we talked about how Radiohead had an additional member in the studio on this album for the first time. Clive Dreamer played on the song Full Stop. And that was new to the band, and we very much try to mirror the arc of the band's discography on the podcast. So this is the first time we've had a guest on a album episode where he's going to be listening to the songs with us. We're really excited to talk to him. He has a very impressive resume. He's an author, filmmaker, musician, and a podcaster who hosts Ridiculous History and Stuff They Don't Want You to Know. We're very thrilled to have him on the podcast. Noel Brown, welcome to Idio Talk.
You outed me for my shameless self-promotion. No, it's honestly, I've done this one other time, and it's actually with someone that you know, Walker, Matt Lieb. I was such a huge fan of Pod Yourself a Gun, and I found out that some of our LA people that I work with in the podcast world knew him, and so I was like, hey, can you put in a good word for me or give me his email? And I literally asked to be a guest on that show, and it was awesome. And so this is the second time I've ever done it, and I only do it literally because of I don't promote myself. I don't promote my podcast except when they make me, and I just like to talk to nerds about nerd shit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah, and you can say that to us because nerd recognize nerd, you know.
Indeed. Oh, indeed.
I mean, yeah, it's also like a backdoor brag for us because Zach and I are fans of your work, and we're both listeners to your stuff. So we were really excited to hear from you, but this actually leads me into something I wanted to ask you about. So you're on these shows put out by iHeartRadio. Right? Shows that Zach and I listen to, shows that, as far as I can tell, have really big audiences. You're like a titan of podcasting. Zach and I are new to the game. We're new on the block. We're still building the show. And yet you reached out to us. This leads me to ask you, Noel, do they not let you discuss Radiohead on these other shows? It seems like there's Radiohead erasure happening there, to where you're having to step out and go on other shows just to talk about this band.
They're silencing me. I've been forbidden to talk about. Now I talk about music stuff on whenever there's an opportunity. But you're right. I haven't really brought up Radiohead. I talk about King Gizzard more than I talk about Radiohead. To me, Radiohead is just like, they don't need me. They don't need me to talk about them. Their legacy is secure, you know.
Sure.
But I just thought first of all, your show name is the only possible name for a Radiohead podcast. I just want to point that out.
Oh, thank you very much.
The fact that you found it and you happened upon it and you were first to market with it, I applaud you. But yeah, no, I did not know such a thing existed, and I felt as though I had to be a part of it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I'm glad to hear that because, as I mentioned, you're on one of the hosts of Stuff They Don't Want You to Know, and it did just call to mind, like, is your Radiohead fandom some of the titular stuff they don't want you to know? But you're getting it out there now. You're going public. You're blowing the whistle.
I don't know if there's any Radiohead conspiracies is the thing. I mean, Tom York just kind of vaguely, mumbles about just every other kind of conspiracy, with his morose, stream of consciousness lyrics. And I say that as a positive thing. But sure. I just remember hearing like "Hail to the Thief" and all the talk about it. Is he talking about Bush? He's talking about Bush, isn't he? And stuff like that. I just remember even like their weird Stanley Donwood art around like Kid A and Amnesiac with the weird little crying boy and like the riot cops, and there's a poster talking about rubber bullets and things. I just always loved the kind of paranoid, histrionic kind of vibes around this ultimately pretty gentle band, know?
Yes.
I think that was what really attracted me to them, is when you realize like, oh, these guys are deeply weird, and they have shit to say, even if you can't understand a word of it.
Absolutely. We only are propagating one Radiohead conspiracy on Idio Talk, and that is that Ed does not actually know how to play the guitar. That is our one
Oh no, that's not true. There's a it's a video of him on this pedal channel. I forget what it's called. I think it's just called like the Pedal Board Show or something. It's on YouTube, and he just goes through his his pedals. He talks about each one and what they do, and he noodles around. And honestly, I mean, what his role in the band is the kind of he's that guy. He doesn't do the articulated, crazy, polyphonic picking stuff that Tom and Johnny do. He's just the guy that kind of sets a loop on the line 6 and just kind of lets it ride, or uses an EBow every now and again. So he's a tastemaker kind of guitar player. I would argue he's probably not at the level of Tom and Johnny as a player. I think that's probably fair.
That's what's funny though is we had the pleasure of having Brad Osborne on, and he wrote this wonderful book about Radiohead that's like analyzing them at a musical level. He's a very serious guy, really nice guy. And Walker and I were kind of 50-50, like, do we want to make our little Ed joke? And we asked him, like, what in your opinion does Ed do? And it was the first time he had laughed, like, since we've been speaking to him. And I find that when you make the Ed comment to a musician such as yourself or to this guy who's like a literal Radiohead expert, I've never gotten the reaction of like, of course he knows how to play guitar. What are you talking? People are just like, well, no.
Well, guys, anyone can play guitar.
There you go. There you go.
But no, I have a Radiohead conspiracy theory. I don't even think it's a conspiracy theory. I think the smile is Radiohead now. I think that was just them literally ditching the kind of hangers on. Honestly, I don't think Phil Selway's an amazing drummer. He's got vibe. He's like, he can do his thing, but the guy they have playing for the smile is just next level. Yeah. And I kind of think that he's just more in line with what, Tom and Johnny are capable of. And I just don't see any reason for them to go back.
I mean, this is a point of a lot of discussion on this and around this album that we're here to discuss today in particular is a Moon-Shaped Pool a knowing goodbye from Radiohead and them moving on to other things.
There's a lot of tunes on Moon-Shaped Pool that sound like a lot of the tunes on the Smile record. That's all I'm gonna say. The really gentle piano-y stuff with the modulars and stuff, like Daydreaming, things like that. I mean, we'll get into it, I guess, song for song, but I really do think the vibe is there. And you got to wonder sometimes, like, I mean, it's sort of like the Smashing Pumpkins with like Billy Corgan playing everybody's instruments. I know that Johnny and Tom aren't that level of megalomaniac, but you got to wonder sometimes, like, it's that old joke about the Beatles where like they say is Ringo the best drummer in the world, and then Paul says he's not even the best drummer in the Beatles. So you got to wonder, after a certain point, are they tired of kind of carrying these guys a little bit?
Wow. I love what full-throated defensive edge you did, but then you're just like, fuck Phil and Colin.
No. Now don't get me no. Collins, I think Colin is an incredible bass player. He's so tasteful. He does this kind of dubby thing. Like I'm being a little devil's advocate here, and I'm being a little over the top. But I will say specifically, it's Phil. He's a fine drummer. He's very articulate. But he's just like, he can't do the kinds of things that this guy's name I'm forgetting from Tom Skinner can do. And I just think that's exciting. I feel this new rejuvenation kind of in like, in Tom and Johnny being excited about working with someone like that. Whereas it feels like, of course, Phil's got to be on the next Radiohead record, but is he bringing something totally unique? So much of it is studio slicery and dicery, and now like all kinds of, that's the name of your podcast, like modular beeps and boops and stuff. You just gotta, I don't know.
No, I know what you're saying. I mean, Tom Skinner, he does have something like for sure that we know Phil doesn't have, which is hair. So that's part of it, I think.
But Phil's also been bald since he was like 19. So
no, I know.
Does he have alopecia? Is this thing that you guys have discussed? I wonder.
I don't know.
We have discussed that we think he might have been kicked to the curb for Tom Skinner because of being follically challenged. I'm very sensitive to bald discrimination.
That's fair. Yeah.
So,
it's a community. The bald community
exactly
rejects this choice.
Yeah, and it's
Bring
really
back Phil.
It's sad to not have any representation in the current Tom York, Johnny Greenwood project, but I'm sticking with them as a fan. And Tom's hair is receding a little bit, so it
definitely.
And that I cannot tell you, Noel, how huge that would be for us. to have Tom York up there, with a shiny dome. That would be so huge.
Because right now all you got is Billy Corgan, and that guy's got some questionable views from time to time.
Yeah, exactly. Not always the representation we're looking for.
Noel, I just kind of wanted to let you know and let our listeners know where I first became acquainted with you as a podcaster, which was from the podcast Movie Crush, hosted by Chuck Bryant. We had Casey Pegram on. He had been a guest on there. But I started listening to Movie Crush like immediately upon its release. I can still distinctly remember hearing that opening theme song and being really struck by how awesome it was. And I'm sure we'll continue to talk more about your musical background, but you had written and created that theme song for Movie Crush, correct?
I did. I originally made it for a pilot for like another show called by the Stuff to Blow Your Mind guys. They were going to do like a YouTube series that was like about VHS kind of monster movies kind of deal, like sort of schlocky,
It has that vibe,
effect. But then it totally worked for Chuck's thing anyway, because he was all about that era, and like it felt like a video store kind of show anyway. So I retooled it a little bit, but it was something that I already had that I definitely went for the kind of not Blade Runner, because it's more ambient. It's really more like 80s horror kind of vibes,
Yes.
like a kind of clicked out, modular synth kind of stuff. And yeah, it's something I'm really into and I've gotten more and more into over the years. But I did that all like with plugins, and now I've got a lot of actual like modular synths and toys and things like that I like to make stuff like that with. But that was definitely something early, in that kind of sound for me, kind of trying to mess with that vibe.
Very John Carpenter vibe.
That's what it is. Thank you. 80s horror equals John Carpenter. That's the good stuff anyway. Yeah.
I wasn't just like a casual fan of that show. I listened to every single Mini Crush episode, and I really felt like I got to know you as can happen with podcasts we love. You feel like you have your relationship to the hosts, regardless how into it or not it is. But it really quickly stood out to me that you had unique and cool taste in music and film. You just mentioned Blade Runner a second ago. I remember you mentioning that movie a lot. I don't know where you're at with it currently, but I love the original. I love the books. I love the most recent one.
Did I give my hot take that I thought the second one was better?
Yes, that
on
is
the show. I did say that. Okay, because I stand by that for reasons.
I for sure share that opinion.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, just like right now, I just remember being like, oh, there's overlap in at least in music and film, and that's really cool. But I also just want to tell you, it was kind of sweet to hear Chuck in the studio with what I felt was like kind of a cool guy, who was maybe slightly closer to my own age. Because I mean, I'm not going to bog it down with Chuck talk, but I'm a big fan, and I was like, oh, this is different. This guy's like hip, and like, oh, I like that band too. Like, and I love Blade Runner too. Anyways, and you eventually got your own episode. Maybe we'll put it in the notes. It was a really, really special episode. And I have since then, not just in preparing for talking to you, I'm a big fan of stuff that I want you to know. I haven't listened to a ton of Ridiculous History, but I just want to let you know personally how much I enjoyed that show. I know it's not around anymore necessarily.
Yeah. That was a bummer. I enjoyed doing that show a lot. I like Chuck a lot. And we really kind of got to know each other kind of live on the air, actually. What you were hearing there was all very, we knew each other a lot, in the office and stuff and in passing. But, I just kind of, that show landed on my plate, and he just very quickly was like, you know what, I need a co-host, just kind of hop in. And I really, really enjoyed doing that show too. I obviously love doing stuff they don't want you to know in Ridiculous History, but I just, I like you said, no, they don't tell me not to talk about Radiohead, but it's not appropriate as often as it was, say, on a show like Movie Crush. And I hope to one day do another more pop culture-y kind of show like that, if time and humanity allows.
No, and we've talked on this Radiohead podcast, Walker and I, extensively about Blade Runner. We haven't talked as much about the Pumpkins, but one of the things that stood out to me, you made some casual comment about like when you were of high school age, so to speak, like the Pumpkins being really important to you. And even though I don't know the age gap or whatever, but I think the Smashing Pumpkins for me were like the band I was the most into before Radiohead.
It was for me for sure.
Okay, yeah, that's really
Big
interesting. Time. Yeah, and I still They have certainly not aged. Balding aside, just generally, Billy Corgan's maybe views haven't aged as well in my own mind and culturally.
Some of those records have, though. Like, I really think Siamese Dream and most of Melancholy, and you and I think we're chatting about Adore.
Mm-hmm.
There's some things on that record that are just really special to me still and really great. But then I think he's always been a little bit of an overindulger in his own kind of whims or whatever. Hence, okay, we got a big hit record with the Siamese Dream. Let's make a double, immediately. I think those are great songs on Melancholy, but there are some that they probably could have left off, and they probably could have made it one record,
perhaps,
but maybe not. That could be a podcast in and of itself, dissecting that. But no, man, and also the thing with the Pumpkins was their influences were so cool, much cooler than any other band that I was exposed to at that age, which would have been things like Incubus and, kind of new metal kind of stuff, some of which I like. Deftones, for example, is a band that I do think is still cool and aged well, but a lot of those other bands are really embarrassing to listen to now. But Pumpkins, I listened because of them. I found My Bloody Valentine and Joy Division and New Order and all of these great producers like Flood and Butch Vig, and through all that kind of came into my own as a true music fan. And for that, I will always credit that band. Whether I still love them the way I used to, is irrelevant, because what they did was they put me on to some really important stuff that changed my life.
I still go back to those mid three quite a bit, but I think just the level of kind of what they were touching on emotionally is a bit more overindulgent. It is a bit more just sadness and depression first.
Yeah.
But was kind of a good stepping stone, and the musicality is incredible. And Walker, I wanna let you speak, please.
Oh no, I really enjoyed both of your commentary on that. I just wanted to jump in with a question, which is Smashing Pumpkins, is that the early work of the Zwan guy?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Man, he made
because
I'm
strictly Zwan, but
Mary Star of the Sea. It's funny with that. Even with that, though, his good taste kind of shone through, because the dude from Slint was in that band. The band made no sense. That record was absurd, but he had Matt Sweeney from Chavez and David Pajo from Tortoise, which is another one of my favorite bands of all time, and Slint, which is a really important kind of proto emo hardcore. I don't even know what you call them, dream pop shoegaze kind of bands. Slint is a very important band from Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay,
and David Pajo, who went on to be in the Incredible Zwan. They should have called themselves the Incredible Zwan.
I like that a lot.
Like that better. He's also in the modern incarnation of Gang of Four, which is a really important British kind of post-punk, kind of clean guitar, thrashy, kind of fun dance punk kind of band. And he's just a really neat guy, really incredible guitarist. You can find him, really good interviews with him online, but he was in Zwan, and I always thought that was cool, but that record sucked. That was not a good record. What was the horrible single from that?
I Believe, I think.
No, it wasn't even that. There was another one. Hold on, I've got to figure it out.
I think it was called "I'm Not Trying Very Hard" or something like that.
Yeah, I like the whole site. I would have gotten that cover as a mural or something.
The cover was dope. The cover was
cool.
Rad. Yeah,
it was called Honestly. By the way, guys, do you know you can just do the Cartman voice for Billy Corgan, and it totally works for anything? Great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It tracks. It
Emptiness and loneliness and loneliness.
Yeah.
And mom is empty, just like mom.
Sorry, it's a thing you can do.
Well, that's Cartman post-puberty. But
right. Yeah, he should have gotten there by now. He loves that Swan record, by the way.
You should do that at karaoke, see how quickly you empty out the room.
I did it once. I did do it once. Or at least
how'd that go over?
I think it was at a personal, private room karaoke among friends. And I think I only did one verse like that.
Yeah, you can really only take that joke so far or so long.
No, 100%. I mean, honestly, it's better if you don't actually do the voice and just say the thing and let people think about it in their brains. You know what I mean? Because you will find that it is true. It is a true thing to behold. Yeah, I don't know. No, I mean, and then I kind of found Radiohead through friends, I think. It was OK Computer, obviously, was the big one. No, I honestly, good Jesus Christ. It was a friend who told me about OK Computer. I kind of slept on it, and then my mom was an opera singer, a pretty well known opera singer, and so I was visiting her in New York when she was singing at the Metropolitan Opera, and she was like, "Let me take you to a concert. What do you want to go see?" I was kind of just of the age where I was starting to be old enough to go to concerts, to get into most, kind of things, I guess not get in, but just like, venues where you could go and you weren't a small child. I could like kind of wander around on my own. And I was like, this band Radiohead seems kind of cool. I heard this was OK Computer was pretty good. And it was like when that record first came out, and they played at a place called the Hammerstein Ballroom, which is like the size of, like the Wiltern in LA or something like that. Like it's like a, medium sized venue, maybe 2,000, like Brooklyn Steel in New York or in Brooklyn now. And they filmed it for this like thing on MTV called Live at the 10 Spot. And it just blew my mind. It was incredible. I didn't know the songs, but I knew them after that show. I immediately consumed and then Pumpkins was out the door, and it was Radiohead from that point on. And they're my favorite band, of all time for sure. And I can go back and watch that concert because it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. They've done I've only seen them once, but it's the same thing. I can go watch the whole concert of the show I saw, and it's such a gift to the fans that they do that.
And I only just recently bothered trying to search for it, and there it was with all the branding, like MTV Live at the 10 Spot, and it was that era of like Tom York with the short kind of brown hair, and Johnny still looking like he's 12, which he will forever because he's a vampire. He made a deal. He made a devil's bargain. I know he did somewhere.
We Suck Young Blood was a confession.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
he's got a blood boy like in Silicon Valley.
That was his Zodiac letter. He actually wants to get caught.
He looks so good. What is the deal with that swoop? That hair, it just falls perfectly into place no matter what he does.
No, we saw the smile in December. Walker and I did. And our respective partners were. Oh, here we go again.
Great show, right?
Oh my God, it was incredible.
It was incredible. Yeah.
But those hair flips though had our ladies talking about it the whole drive home. Yeah,
got the vapors. Yeah,
yeah. It was like we weren't there, and it's like, well, we're kind of cool too. We do a podcast about Radiohead. We're no slouches.
He's like, but do you have hair?
No, in my case, no. Now, Noel, let me ask you this. Love hearing kind of what your background is on the band. So cutting all the way from OK Computer to A Moon-Shaped Pool, where would you say in general, like this one kind of falls in for you? And then we'll dive right into the tracks. But is this an important album for you?
It is.
Why? How do you feel about it?
It's so impressive for them to continue to deliver in this way. And the only one of theirs that I find lackluster is King of Limbs. That one is just a little spotty for me.
Okay.
There's definitely some bangers on it, but like overall, I don't find myself. You know what? I say that, and then maybe I just need to revisit it and look at it through a different lens. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe I was in a different headspace at the time, but I just remember not being in love with that one or not finding as many things that just really grabbed me and made me go back to it. But I mean, I think A Moon-Shaped Pool is up there with the best of their catalog. No question about it. It's creative. It's weird. It's beautiful. It takes risks. It's just phenomenal. I mean, there's really no dead weight on it at all.
I love that.
Okay, that's great. Well, that's going to really inform, how we kind of analyze the songs. I tend to agree with you. I'm a little closer to it's up there with their best work for me. Maybe not my favorite, but only because of how high the watermark is with Radiohead. It does represent a real return to form for me, back to what I love most about the band. And then Zach, I don't want to speak for Zach, but I know he has a lot of positive stuff to say about this record, but some issues as well. So I'm curious to hear what those are as they come up.
Definitely.
Zach, do you want to speak on that at all?
No, I'm just really excited. I just have a not risky prediction that I will find new things to love. But as it stands right now, I agree with both of you. There are some standouts that I put among the best, like if I had to, but I told Walker before we jumped on with you that I just don't think I found my intimate relationship to A Moon-Shaped Pool yet. And this was one where I was, my Radiohead fanship and them being my favorite band had been the case for years when it came out. So I got to like jump into it, and I've been listening to it since it came out. And I think that's okay. I mean, it's so cool that I think they offer so much for you to fall in love with over time as an artist. I think that's just so cool.
Were you warmer on King of Limbs than maybe I was?
Yeah, I mean, I would say now I am. I don't pretend that I'm not somebody that's like that's their best album. I wanted to like it so bad when it came out because I really found my way to Radiohead in 2008 as far as like them becoming my favorite band. And so when I got to experience an album coming out that, Post in Rainbows, and maybe I get to replicate that experience, even though it's not maybe as good or as complete of a vision. So I had listened to that one so much, and I would say, yeah, I really like that album. I'm not going to argue with somebody who like can intelligently critique some of the misfires on it, right?
I mean, there's nothing bad on it. I wouldn't say there's anything where I'm like, that's embarrassing. Why'd you put that on there? It just felt a little jumbled, and like I just can't think back to any to more than a couple of songs that I even remember very well off of that album. So that's just sort of the barrier.
I think there could be like some Stockholm syndrome too for me with that album, even though I don't think that's the case. But like just like I said, I just wanted to like it so bad because I'm like, oh, this is the new Radiohead, and I'm a fan right now, And then when
You're
this
like
one
a freshly
came out,
minted fan, kind of.
Yeah. And so when this one came out, I mean, I was so excited. But like I say, I mean, we'll talk about this as we go. It's a grown-up album. It's grown-up themes. I'm a grown-up. But also, I think that it just some Radiohead, I think the best work, I should just say, it needs time to breathe in your consciousness. And there are tracks I love, and I can't wait to explore those with the both of you. But yeah, it's not, I don't want to say I haven't found my way there yet. It's just, we'll see.
It's only been 7 years. Like,
I know,
what
right?
I mean? Like, let's let this thing marinate a little more.
Seriously.
Now, talking of King of Limbs, this helps us get into it because Noel, something of a catchphrase on this show or a rallying cry when we listen to these albums has become, damn, do these motherfuckers know how to open an album? Mm-hmm. And my hottest of hot takes in our King of Limbs episode was that a 7-album streak, including Pablo Honey, of just banger openers had ended with what I consider to be a misfire of Bloom opening King of Limbs. Not that I hate the song, but I think it's a weird one to open with, and it is actually one of the lesser ones for me on that album. So
that may have been what did it for me too, honestly, because I think maybe I was just sort of like puzzled from the start on that one, and I think the sequencing of that record maybe had something to do with it. But I agree with you that that's a weird one. I thought you were going to say that you thought Burn the Witch was a misfire, in which case I would go to the mat to disagree. I think it might be one of the most exciting, but we should get there when we get there.
Well, this perfectly sets me up for that's what's at stake here, Noel, is will these motherfuckers know how to open an album again? Can they get it back? And so let's start with track 1 of this album and see how we feel about what kicks off here.
Cut my life into pieces. Yeah. This is my last resort.
Now, how do we feel about this?
Pretty great.
As a direction for the
snare
band.
tone, first of all. And the lyrics are just so dark and edgy. They're just so dark and edgy.
But subtle.
Yeah.
At the same
I
time.
hear Johnny Greenwood of the Smile kind of in that guitar playing and that riff. We haven't heard a lot of this in Radiohead yet, but I hear
It's
that
a little mathy. Yeah, it's a little mathy.
It's a little mathy. This is a little advanced for Radiohead, but they're holding it down pretty admirably. And also, we know Tom is coming off of his time in Atoms for Peace, where he played with Flea, so he's kind of doing a little bit of a rapping thing now.
Maybe that vibes.
Yeah, he's put away his Oxfordshire shoes and donned his California sneaks, or trainers, as he would call them.
And true story, this song was actually originally written for a Club Med campaign. That's why it's called Last Resort. But then they decided it was a little too edgy, and they went with Lust for Life by Iggy Pop instead.
There you go. Yeah, they were like, I don't know if we want to be highlighting the amount of death by suicide that's happening on our all-access resort.
Club Med, a good place to die.
Yeah. Oh my God. Cut your life into pieces is actually not a terrible slogan for some sort of like luxury good, right?
Cut the kids in half, come to cut your life into pieces and cut the kids in half.
Now, of course, this is a bit of a fun prank that we do every time we start an album is we play something terrible to start off. But doesn't that just set us up to now be truly wowed by what Radiohead is going to bring to the table? Noel already said the name of it. This is track 1 of A Moon-Shaped Pool, and it is called Burn the Witch. Now, I'm going to just talk a little bit. If anybody, hold up your hand if there's a part that you need me to shut up for. But I would say that right away, this is a little bit of an anomalous opener. I don't think that we have had an album open with a string section on a Radiohead record so far. I really love this song. Noel, you already said you love it as the opener. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, I just find the sounds of those staccato kind of. I think it's honest. I think some of it is bouncing the bow backwards. So it's like if you take the bow and flip it to the side that doesn't have the hair on it, and you bounce it on the strings. That's kind of the feel that I'm getting. I think it's like really this percussive sound, and it's got this urgency that I really dig. And I have to say, when this came out as the first single, I was a little perplexed because I think the setting I was listening to it in just wasn't right. But then as in the context of an album, it was just like such a weird, creepy opener. I really, really started to fall in love with it. I needed to live with a lot of these songs for a little bit before I fully, quote unquote, got it.
Sure.
But, no, the more I listen, I think this is an excellent opener because it's just so, that urgency, that kind of paranoid, strident, kind of percussive death march,
I agree. I think that they have a way, too, of opening records sometimes with a song that doesn't necessarily sound like what follows it on the rest of the album, but still fits perfectly as an opening statement. I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking of Packed Like Sardines. Even 15 Step a little bit is more like dancey and has more like drum machine sounds in it than most of what's on
This is pretty drum
Rainbows.
machine-y.
Very much so.
Yeah,
very much so.
I don't think a drum was harmed in the making of this song. I think
Phil, go ahead and sit this one out.
we're gonna be beeping and booping over here.
I knew right away that we'd get some cool musical technique commentary from you or whatnot. Just how you're talking about what they're doing with the bow. I haven't watched any footage of the orchestral footage of them playing this, but it just sounds different. We know Johnny has done so much orchestral work.
Live, he uses a bass. He bows the bass for that part live, which is super. I mean, I'm sure you know. It's just, I was really surprised that it worked so well because it really, it's not the same as the string arrangement, but it really has the same urgency. And then by the end of it, he's just like going to town on that thing, and it's like really powerful stuff.
Absolutely. And I didn't have the technical vocabulary to talk about what the strings are doing. The thing that I love about this song, I love the whole song. The bass is amazing, but the vocals, I mean, just like, it's easy to forget because Tom is such a talented and amazing singer. It's not easy to forget, but like, where a song is so highlighted in them for me, and this just does so well, or exemplifies what Tom does so well, which is like harmony and voice leading. I mean, it's like I was trying to figure this song out at once a month, once a week. I'll try and do a little ear training course and figure out a song by ear. Usually I'll go Beatles or something or whatever.
Sorry,
but
I love this nasty noise break at the end.
Me too.
Oh man,
so
it's
good, so great.
That's when you start realizing, like, okay, these guys aren't fucking around. You know,
the
what I mean?
wheels
Like,
are coming off at the end.
They're willing
there.
to go somewhere unpleasant. They're willing to go somewhere and take you to a place that's maybe a little uncomfortable, and that's what really turned me on to them from the start. With like a record like a computer, even to a lesser degree, the bands. I'm sorry I interrupted you. I love that about them. That they're willing to just like set shit on fire, and that's super cool.
I love the crescendo build and the way it ends, because it is kind of harkening back to older radio. But I was going to say on the vocals is, I was trying to figure it out, and then it was just a perfect example of what he does. It's an F sharp major, essentially. It's like E F sharp major. It's a relatively simple song. And I was playing it with an F sharp minor and trying to just even sing like him. He's so good at finding that ambiguity and creating tension. obviously you do have to select your chords to an extent, but it totally works both ways. And I think that's just such a great example of how Tom can float above or within a melody, and it can be sort of ambiguous in which direction it's going. And I think that's just a unique talent he has. And I love that about that song.
I almost think, how he does it? By not giving a shit about the theory.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Frankly,
yeah.
I mean, I really, because honestly, like I am not a theory person. I can do enough to get by, and I mainly just kind of create things pretty intuitively, and by using modern DAWs where you're programming MIDI and stuff. You certainly are looking at a staff a lot, and I grew up playing violin, so I definitely know. But I've never been like a mode guy or a key guy, or I've always just been like a bash my way through it until it sounds good guy, and I think. To a degree, obviously, I know that Johnny and Tom they're very accomplished pianists, and they really know their shit. But I do think, to a degree, a lot of it is they don't think about it that way from the start. It might be a thing you can analyze after the fact, like math wise, just kind of dissect it. But I do not think that Tom is plotting his vocal melodies on a staff or thinking about which notes he's choosing. I think Johnny is like probably setting the tone with a lot of the string arrangements for this one in particular, and then Tom's kind of weaving his way around that. I'd be interested to know what the order of operations was, but this strikes me as a song that almost existed as a string arrangement first, and then the vocals were recorded later. That's just a guess. I don't know.
I actually have some insight about that. In this case, the song had been kicking around about 10 years, but primarily that synth and drum part, and they couldn't quite figure it out. And it was Johnny who, I guess in kind of a fit of exasperation of them trying to arrange the song, was like, I'll just arrange the whole thing on strings. Like it was like it was like a
fix, right?
Yeah, exactly. It almost sounded a little bit like an obla di obla da situation where it had.
So I was kind of right.
You were right. No,
okay,
that
cool.
was a long fan.
Okay,
but I also wanted to be right, so I wanted to say it a slightly different way.
We're all right. The kids are all right. No, but I'm not like the biggest like Tool stan in the world or anything. Like I do think some of their stuff holds up and is relatively interesting, and I think they're talented, creative guys. But I know for the most part, their compositions are created very separately. Like where like, the band creates the music and then Maynard comes in and sings the vocals, as I think was also the case with the Smiths. And you'd never think that about the Smiths. I can see that with Tool, but I wouldn't think that with the Smiths. But this song strikes me as like he's doing stuff that kind of vibes with the strings, and the strings feel like they're the star of the show. And he's just, obviously the vocal's the star of any mix, any song. But I just feel like that's sort of where the hierarchy is,
they're working in tandem so well as like Radiohead has always done. But yeah, like just the way he floats into your thing about theory, I totally agree. I mean, it's like I think what makes Tom so good is, and a lot of singers too, but like obviously his musical vocabulary is so vast, but I just think that like the weirdness is there because you're not subject to any rules, and that's for me all I have to say on that song. But I just love the vocals of that so much. It's been so long since I've listened to a Radiohead song and like tripped out on that, and that was really my last couple listens, this last week or so.
It does have kind of, again, I'm bad with mode names, but doesn't it have kind of an Eastern vibe to it? Like
yeah,
there's
like a
sort of
Phrygian
like
dominant.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
it's almost got its own kind of blue note. That that was really bad. But you know what I'm talking about. There's the one note that makes it that
second
thing.
degree.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's very present here. And I know that not that you have to be married to somebody from the Middle East to like that kind of music, but I believe Johnny's married to a Middle Eastern Israeli woman. Yeah, exactly. Who, and I've seen in the past when they played in Atlanta on this tour, they had an Israeli band open for them, and it was this kind of very.
I was just reading about that.
It was all these kind of sounds, so I kind of gotta believe that there's some. Love there, in terms of like the influence and all of that.
That makes total sense. I think also it's worth commenting briefly on kind of what's going on lyrically in this song. So Burn the Witch, obviously like very evocative imagery. The lyrics are very paranoid and very much about like kind of scapegoating a phantom other. When this song was written about by critics and stuff, it was very much chalked up as kind of a Trump protest song. But as we just said, the song had been kicking around for about a decade. Zach and I talked a little bit last time about how Radiohead tend to be more broad-minded in their themes rather than turning to something that is super heightened in the zeitgeist at that moment. But I also tend to think it's not a coincidence that this song had been kicking around for this long and they decided to put it on its album at the height of the Trump campaign and his vilification of immigrants, Muslims. That's also a huge issue in England. And, the video actually depicts this little claymation Wicker Man, witch hunt, human sacrifice thing, but it's done in the style of this British cartoon from the 70s that's actually called Trumpton.
Oh, funny.
Coincidence? Maybe, but I kind of tend to doubt it.
I've never felt that they were overly pointed with political references, which is honestly why the name like Hail to the Thief was a bit of a red herring, I think, in some ways.
Sure.
Because if you listen to the lyrics of the 2 + 2 = 5 or whatever, they're not inherently political. And honestly, most of his lyrics, they're more of a vibe than they are some sort of rallying cry, and I prefer it that way.
Yes.
And the reason a song or a sentiment that's 10 years old aligns is because that's where the zeitgeist is. That's where the hive mind is when the song comes out. So that's what your brain fills in those gaps with.
Sure.
Yeah.
You tend to think it's more what we're putting on it.
Absolutely.
With the benefit of hindsight
and the
in this
timing.
case.
Yeah. I think you can go back and listen to a lot of things or like think about the way old songs are used as needle drops in movies. You can wrap the meaning of a song around an idea that's completely separate from what the original intent was, and it just locks in. If the lyrics are vague and general enough, but have enough emotional resonance. So that to me is why bands like Radiohead, bands like Animal Collective or like Talking Heads that have a little bit more, open-endedness in their lyrics are appealing to me more than like the Dylans of the world or like, really hardcore story songs, I like those, but not as much. I like the ones, like Brian Eno, where you can fill in the gaps and, bend it to whatever your vibe is and whatever is going on in the world at the time. And it can be really magical when done correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the abstraction that they bring, and if they were thinking about Trump when they put this on the record, I'm glad that they didn't do too many signifiers about him, because it marries it to that time and place. Should we get into Daydreaming?
Let's do it.
Immediately slowing things down with this second one.
Yeah. I'll just kind of I don't have a ton of commentary on this song either during or post, so I'll just kind of get it out up front. Listeners, go, if you haven't already, go back and listen to our episode with Casey Pegram, where we broke down, he really broke down the music video to this song directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and just kind of what the song, we talked a lot about that, the cinematography, the meaning, in conjunction with the song. It had never been the biggest standout for me. I love the video and I loved that conversation we got to have about it. And this song kind of exists within that context for me now. It's beautifully composed. It's different. It's peaceful. But Walker, remember when we were doing our first episode, kind of covering this album, I said that a lot of it reminds me of that moment in Into the Wild, at the end, that emotional moment when he's written, "Happiness is meant to be shared." And that's kind of what I was talking about, like with this song, like knowing that it makes somebody so happy and that this song is so important to them makes me happy. Whether how good of a song it is to me or not, how much I'll ever fall in love with it, that's kind of where it lies for me. And obviously they meant a lot to Tom and PTA as well. But those are kind of my general thoughts.
But for you personally, this is not maybe a highlight or one of your favorites?
No, it's not. It's not one of my highlights, my favorites. It's not. Maybe it's like so much like higher tier than like say like the Sail to the Moons, like in On Hail to the Thief. Like I like this song a lot, but yeah, for whatever reason, it's just a little bit sleepy for me. I love to listen to it and always have with the music video, and that's kind of like, you shouldn't have to watch a music video to enjoy a song fully, but for me, this one really, really, really is made better by the video itself. And that is a rarity for me in music in general. What
What about for you, Noel?
Yeah, I think a good clip, as they used to call it in the biz, really goes a long way, and I do like to experience things like that. And I mean, obviously, what a cool partnership they have with Paul Thomas Anderson. It's so funny. I've never really thought of Paul Thomas Anderson in the same, obviously incredible writer director, but I never really thought of him as like a really tricksy kind of director, you know. But he is. If you go, I recently rewatched Boogie Nights, and there are some, you know, they're not like special effects that you would read as special effects, but like these long extended takes and all this crazy stuff with orchestration and like dialogue that even moves around as the camera moves, and absolutely next level cinematography stuff. But then he started with this phase of his career, and like specifically with that Netflix thing he did for Tom York, Anima.
Yeah.
Like it's like in the same league as like Michel Gondry, or, you know, like the kind of practical illusion kind of vibes. And I think this video does some of that. It's a little more subtle, but it's all just kind of, you know, these white kind of like really, you know, high contrast kind of images, and Tom's walking around, you know, like in a daze. And isn't this song about his wife passing, or is that not confirmed?
That's kind of an open question about, well, no, I mean, the answer, actually, the short answer would be no, because she passed later in the year after this album was released. But this whole album is, in my mind, alternating between kind of these cataclysmic world-ending themes and then these very personal,
That's a good point.
your own world-ending themes of
To
a
our
breakup.
previous conversation about the open-endedness of it, is like, in my mind, it's like, yes, that's definitely what it's about. But then you look at the data, and it's like, nah, it doesn't really line up with the reality of, you know, the timing and all of that. But
Yeah, because you're not wrong also, though, because, I mean, to me, the song is very much the kind of rumination you would have after the breakup of a 20-year relationship. It seems to me to be about accepting that your life has not turned out how you thought it was, and the fact that he's saying half my life slowed down and backwards at the end of the song.
Love that. And that's almost, that is
What is
spooky.
that in your mind?
Yeah.
What do you think that's about?
I mean, you know what it sounds to me like? It sounds angry, that part. It's like saying, like, half my fucking life, you bitch. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, it really has a darkness to it, that part. But I mean, I'm not saying that's what his intent was, but it's like a weird disembodied demon voice that's like chanting this thing. And I don't know if that's like maybe represents the angry part of him. You know, I mean, obviously ending relationships and things like that, even death, there can be complicated feelings that oftentimes include anger. But
Sure.
that part sounds very angry to me. It always has.
Or half of my life being in the band Radiohead. And
Also true.
no, I love that you said it sounds angry. I can totally hear that now. I always hear it as snoring, and I hear it as like half of my life, like, and just whatever he's evoking. I feel it like kind of like passing away or falling asleep or whatever. But I do hear it as angry too, and this is a great thing about talking about this kind of
Guttural
stuff with people.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it.
like really death metal-y almost sounding. You know?
There,
But it's so
Yeah.
whispery. It's like
Mhm.
whispered death metal to me, you know? And as a producer, you know, I mean, that's the thing that I'm really, really passionate about. And when I'm not doing podcasts, I'm making records and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And the production on this song and the string arrangements, just the
Yes.
stereo width of it all, and just that trick with the breathy kind of whatever that is, vocoder thing is just stunning to me.
Well, we'll certainly mention it when the song comes up. Walker, I think you mentioned John Carpenter earlier, and Noel, I know you're a big fan of that type of music. There is at least one song in this album where I'm like, this is so good and so soundtracky, but belongs in like an A24 horror movie. And we're not there yet, so we'll talk about it when we get
He
there.
eventually did do one of those. I think. Well,
Yeah,
Suspiria was at
Suspiria.
A24. I don't remember. It should have been if it wasn't. But
It might it was an Amazon original, but they could have collaborated with A24.
100%.
Definitely in
That vibe.
tone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like though that see this is what you get out of a listening party. Is I had never thought of that part as angry, but I do really like that perspective on it, because I do think that the kind of breakup-y songs, which for me this is definitely one. They're all open to interpretation, but this is one of those post-relationship songs, kind of doing a post-mortem on the relationship. A lot of them have this optimism, or at least this kind of passivity of like, I don't know what comes next, but I'm looking towards a future, and it kind of alternates between hope and fear around that. This one feels like one of the more passive ones, or at least kind of open ones, where in the video he's literally going into all these new rooms and spaces, room after room. There is one on here later that to me is like, oh, he did get an angry breakup song on the album, and that one's coming up. But the last thing I wanted to say about the video, and then I'll kick it back over to you guys, is just that I know it's super impactful because I was listening to this record the other day with my 9-year-old, and he just turned to me, and he like hears Radiohead on and stuff in the background, but you know, he's not that tuned into them. But he was like, oh, is this that video you were watching where the guy is going through all the different rooms? And I was like, yeah. And then I did, of course, I sternly corrected him and said, but right now I'm listening to this for the podcast, and you need to go play outside for 6 hours because this is what Daddy does. He listens to Radiohead so he can talk about it later. So, you know, do you guys like how I handled that? Was that
you did a good job?
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
Let us know what you think of the internet.
yeah. I'm about to get bean dadded. Radiohead dad.
You know, I worked with Bean Dad. We had a podcast called The Omnibus that was on our slate at iHeart for a while, and it was Ken Jennings and John. What was his last name? Roderick.
Yes.
He was Bean Dad. And then Ken Jennings came to his aid, and it almost lost him that Jeopardy job. But then I think he got it. I think he splits it. He splits it now with what's her name, Mayim Bialik, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought they did Bean Dad a little dirty. I don't know if
he was doing, but what ends up happening is the internet has a slow day. They tear you to shreds, but then they go micro on your back catalog, and that's when the real problems came up. He had some off color. Things from previous eras.
Yes. But I can mock my child on my podcast, and people can go do a background check on me. Clean as a whistle. Every take better than the last. I don't know why I'm inviting this level of scrutiny. Let's listen to another song. How about that? The next track on A Moon-Shaped Pool is Dex Dark. Now, I'll kick off the discussion on this one by saying this is a major highlight for me on an album of songs where I love a lot of them. But I think Dex Dark really kicks ass and has very OK Computer vibes.
To me, it's a spiritual sequel to Subterranean Homesick.
Oh, no.
I am with that.
You took my commentary. I have nothing else to say. Noel nailed it. Just kidding. No, I love that. Noel, it is such the what did you say? Spiritual sibling or something, like spiritual sequel to Subterranean. And it's the third song on the album. It sounds the most like Radiohead's third album, and it just has this beautiful spaciness to it. I love the tremolo picking, but it's just in a calmer vibe, and the song goes so many amazing places. There's a ton of chords in this song in a very like early Radiohead way. It's just they just jam so much in, but it's way down here. But it's got that creepy, spacey vibe a little bit. And oh my God, I love this song so much.
I think it is that inverse picking pattern that really, and it's sort of about getting abducted by aliens a little bit. Totally. You know what I mean? Or it feels like it. But it's that do-do-do-do. And it reminds me of that part in do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do on the Subterranean. It just has a similar, the chords are shaped kind of similarly. And so I think they kind of did it on purpose. I don't know, but I wonder if it's sort of a nod. You know what I mean?
This is creepy. I love this operatic echo. So great.
You know what? That's a good pointing out of something that I love about this album in general. The backing vocals all have, and I know it's not. It's the band doing it, but they have the quality of a children's choir every time they do these orchestral backing vocals. And I think it's really a really essential flavor of what gives this album its kind of like creepy, melancholy feel throughout.
Those there, I think, are synth.
You think so?
With a formant filter on it. Yeah. You can definitely, it's sort of like Mellotron. Like it has this tapey, more human than human kind of quality to it. That was not a White Zombie reference. I just mean the uncanny valleyness of it, where it's like too perfect. Like, I don't know. I honestly, you can do things with modular synth where you can like put a formant filter on it that kind of creates ooh-ay. In fact, that is also a sound they use on Burn the Witch, where it's like an oboe. It's kind of going oh, and it's sort of like it's like you're filtering it through your lips that are alternating between rounded and kind of wide. And I wonder if that is actually a children's choir or if it's some weird Johnny Greenwood modular synth black magic.
Okay. I have to quickly give a shout out to Colin in this section for playing, for me, the best bass line of the album here.
He's phenomenal. He's so tasteful. I really, and I truly believe that he is solely responsible for those parts. And that's what makes a band,
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I love, we have a section change coming up here, but in the first 2/3 of the song, we hear just kind of a clean guitar. Dun 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 dun, and it's such an amazing relief on this. Walker, this sound reminds me of in when we were listening to Lotus Flower, how the snare hitting in the snare sounds like it's kind of underwater. That it's like a similar recording technique. I love it.
So what that is definitely like a separate sound that's triggering on top of the snare. So the snare is like super present and punchy, but then there's this other sound. I think it's probably a spring reverb because it's almost that sound you get when you take a guitar cabinet that has a spring reverb in it and you kick it and the spring kind of goes boing and kind of makes this crazy like spring snappy sound. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm theorizing that that's sort of what that is.
And I'm theorizing that when you need a sound like that, there's one member of the band that is standing at attention, ready to go. That's an
Papa
Ed
Roach, right?
That's Papa Roach, Ed's first band, and in some people's mind, his better band. But we'll leave that up to the audience to decide. No, do you hear that? That's an Ed Drystrom, right? Come on.
Have you seen those Shreds videos of In the Basement or the basement recordings?
Those are so funny.
The best part is when, again, like to rag on Ed, when he does that backing vocal in like Weird Fishes, where he just kind of goes, ah!
I have not seen those. I love those Shreds video. I didn't know they've done it with Radiohead.
Oh yeah! Oh my god, they do several songs from the In the Basement stuff. It's like, oh, I gotta send it to you. It's too funny.
It's so funny. Walker, there's a Ed Shreds video. Noel, one of Walker and I's favorite videos of Ed not playing is on their 2011 tour during I Might Be Wrong, which is one of my favorite songs to watch them play live in any era. Ed is not even helping at all anymore. He's wearing a fedora and he doesn't pluck one single note of his guitar. And there's a moment when he kind of looks over at Tom and Johnny like, these guys are really good. Like, it's just like, so fun. And that's in one of the Ed Shreds compilations for a minute. That's all. I love those so much.
That's where he's there. That's like when he's their emotional support Ed at that point.
I mean, he's definitely the best looking lad in the band, which is, I think, largely why they kept him around for so long. Look at that jaw.
No, that's why we refer to him as the handsome man and have since episode 1 on this show. So Ed the handsome man O'Brien. He's 6'5" too.
Now, what do you guys think about what we're hearing in our headphones right now? We got a little Desert Island disc spelled with a K again, just like
seriously hung. But I'm sorry, I'm a little held up on this Ed.
Noel had a completely blank expression, and then we found out why.
I think the answer is clearly yes. I think you told me his height, and I'm just like, oh my god, that guy's hacking.
I thought I offended you because you were thinking, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I said something wrong.
No, I'm just picturing. Yeah, I'm sorry. Please continue.
Yes,
that was very rude of me.
I think that he's sending out some major BDE, not just because of the height thing, but also just because, he is like, people can make all sorts of implications about, what am I doing in Radiohead? I know what I'm doing here. I'm laying serious pipe down.
Did you listen to his solo record?
We did. We listened to it on the pod a couple weeks ago, and we both really liked what we listened to.
You did like it. Okay.
We had to kind of eat our words.
I watched a little bit of, like, I follow him on Instagram or something, and like his behind the scenes videos of it where he was talking about it were a little bit cringe, where it was like, as I went to Bali and, you know, like just immersed myself in the indigenous culture or whatever. It was a little bit like, bro, you're not Peter Gabriel. You don't get to do that. And I just kind of never listened to it, but I really want to.
We listened to one song, and it was pretty conventional pop rock music, but really nicely arranged. Lots of really cool, unusual vocal harmonies, and we both liked the song we listened to a lot.
Shangri-La was the song.
But guys, what are we listening to now?
This is a great song. This is a beautiful song.
I love Desert Island Disc.
Desert Island Disc, which is a reference. I mean, it's its own thing. It's just a concept, really, I guess. But it's a show on the BBC where they, you know, have amazing artists and creators talk about what their Desert Island Disc would be.
Yeah, and I thought it's a little bit of an oblique title with what the themes of the song to be, because this is one of what I would consider to be a very optimistic breakup song. Kind of looking to the future, saying anything's possible. And I was wondering what that means, but I think that it might be a reference to kind of ending up in a new, unfamiliar place, you know, like a desert island cast away after being in familiar surroundings for so long.
And also, like, when I think I didn't realize that the show existed when I saw the name of this. And in my mind, just because of Radiohead, when I see Desert Island Disc, I think hard drive. I think like a thing you have no use for on a desert island. You know what I mean?
I like that too.
If it's on its own and you don't have anything to plug it up to, what use is it? You know, and it's sort of like nipples on a breastplate, as they might say in the Game of Thrones series. You know, it's like a useless thing. But the lyrics are very positive, and actually I'd kind of forgotten. I'm glad I didn't really listen to this in advance of this. It's nice listening to it in real time, but there are a lot of posy vibes on this record. Like truly Tom at his most kind of hippie. You know what I mean? It's weird. He's turned a corner in a way.
Walker, it's funny, like hearing you and Noel talk about the lyrics, because we having just listened to Atoms for Pieces of Muck, and granted that was a 3-day jam, and this album they spent about 2 years, not in a row necessarily, but recording. But there's a song that I love from a Muck. What's the song, Walker, where he couldn't care less? Unless, where Tom is just saying I couldn't care less, and it's kind of a weaker lyrical moment. But in this one, like in the moment where he's saying like, you know what I mean, with different inflections, it's very evocative. Like, I'm so like, that's pretty. Okay. This is Tom in his bag when it doesn't matter if there's 5 stanzas or 20. I get so much out of each different, you know what I mean. And I really love that one a lot. It's great. It's really, really good.
I think that's actually a very great lead in to the next song, because I think that this one does that to the max. There's a few phrases that are repeated a lot that, in my mind, have an increasing amount of menace, as they're said over and over. This is full stop.
Love this filtered. I'm a big fan of filtering in the studio. Like, I've got a couple of Moog plugins that I use on so much, and it's a good way of like, you're not fading something in with volume, you're fading it in with frequency cutoff, so it's like, it's a good way to grow or kind of shrink sounds, and this one does it so well because it's just like this. It's called a high pass filter, where it's cutting the lows. And no, wait, this is a low. This is a high.
Noise.
Low, yeah, and then you've got that, whatever that guitar triggered delay thing is, but all the while this filter is being opened slowly, and then the drums really start to kind of punch, but at first they're very muted and muffled, and it's like it takes a minute to get the snare to actually reveal the high end.
God damn, dude, I'm so glad we have you here to say what's happening here, because the tension just really slowly ratchets up.
Yeah, you only hear the snare for real just about now, because it's been muffled behind this filter, and then as it's opening, you almost don't even realize how much the intensity has grown. It's almost like a lobster boiling. It doesn't even know until it's like everything's at 11. You know what I mean?
I had just mentioned earlier that like there's a particular song that at least sectionally part of it feels like it could go great in like a an 80s horror or a modern day good like A24 horror, and I picture this being like a moment of revelation. Who knows where somebody might use it, but the thing that I really love about this song, because it is like a song even though it has this kind of electro Radiohead vibe to it at first, in comparison to say something like Feral from The King of Limbs, is it starts off with these just kind of noises, even though Noel, you just explained a lot of it, and it develops into this amazing thing. It doesn't just maintain this one like sort of Radiohead techno piece. It builds into like a song that I love, and I love it from the beginning because of that, even though it's maybe noises I'm not super familiar with at the start. I don't know.
When it flips into rock mode.
Oh, I love it.
That's very in Rainbows. That's very like Body Snatchers, that kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Where like they never go full distortion. It's just slightly break up on the edge, sort of like more of an overdrive. But it's the energy and intensity rather than the tone, and then like heavy distortion that makes it heavy. I've always preferred that to bands that just feel like they have to have like walls of guitar. Like I think Radiohead's always been very good at creating energy and intensity and darkness without having full distortion all the time. The distortion is usually Johnny doing some like almost playing guitar like a synth, where it's just ripping the fabric of time and space. But the actual rhythm guitars are usually relatively clean, and yet it still has this urgency and like energy,
Right here. Like, I mean, it really is what they don't play, isn't it? It's like the fact that we haven't heard a clearly articulated guitar up till 2 minutes into the song makes this clean guitar part so exciting when it kicks in.
Yeah, it feels heavy, And also, this, I mean, I know I gave Phil a hard time at the top of the show. I didn't mean to. He's really good.
He's your Ed.
He's really good. He's really good at a ride groove. He's
Sure.
so good at this ride cymbal. And, obviously, a big part of that is Godric, the way he records, like that ride is so in your ears, man, and you can hear every little articulation, and then he's bouncing off that snare and creating this kind of polyphonic, almost breakbeat kind of sound, and it just goes along with the kind of strummy, propulsive rhythm guitars so well. But again, it's this intensity that's coming from not distortion, not chaos, just tight, rhythmic kind of movement. It's so cool. It's almost like a magic trick.
Well, I love how the two guitar parts, because we got a new guitar part, are weaving together now. That do 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 do. It's that's my favorite part of the song.
And
Very cool.
I referred earlier to an angry breakup song. I think this is really well placed because it follows this really kind of unbridled optimism and positivity of Desert Island Disc with this, which is to me anger and fear. This is like the broken home song on here, and it's just got these kind of like very venomous statements. You really messed up everything. Why should I be good if you're not? This is a foul-tasting
medicine. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and it's unclear to me if the narrator is talking to themselves or the other person or both, but I also really appreciate the juxtaposition between the line "all the good times" and how scary sounding everything is at that point.
What's the counterpoint, or what is he saying?
Truth will mess you up.
Truth will mess you up. Okay, got it.
Truth will mess you up.
I thought he was saying kill the messenger in my mind. And that's another good example of things with like, of vague, more cadency sound lyrics than the words actually mattering. Because sometimes I'll just believe what it is, and that'll just be what it is to me until I read it. But usually when I read it, it's sort of like, oh, that's not as cool as what I thought it was. And I think that's important, to be able to have that open-endedness. And I like Kill the Messenger better than The Truth Will Mess You Up. That's just my own personal opinion.
Sure. I mean, Noel, I co-host a Radiohead podcast, and I don't know the words to a single goddamn one of these songs. And famously, I thought that the chorus of Let Down was Hurts Like a Broken Arm until we were recording.
It's like a broken arm.
Right? It works.
It totally works, man. It works. Let it be that to you from now until the end of time. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
I mean, is that much worse than Crushed Like a Bug in the Ground?
Yes.
No, I do like that lyric a lot. Though.
Yeah.
It's better. Tom is better. What he wrote is better. I admit it.
But I liked Noel's editorial there, and I like that song, and I love the lyrics to that song. Kind of going back to the counterpoint you guys were discussing. You know what song lyrically it reminds me of, just because of the is They're There, that coda of They're There, of why so green and lonely, heaven sent you to me. The way it's like
what?
this embittered.
Never would have told you in a million years that's what he was saying there. I'm not joking.
No,
I had
that's
no
great.
idea that's the lyric.
but like tonally though, like there's sort of an omniscient narrator in the form of Tom, and I think There speaks to me as like this, like, you know, love lost song, but then like the end of it is just like, I'm mad that love was lost because it fucking hurts when you lose somebody, the one that got away. That one has the same tone to it, not identical or anything, but just like, obviously they came from the mind of Tom York, but the imagery he evokes through sadness and heartbreak in this case really, really, really speak to me, and I love it a lot.
It's just funny talking with you guys because I've honestly, on a lot of Radiohead's records, I don't really even think about what the lyrics are trying to say most of the time. Like, there are definitely some songs on OK Computer where the lyrics are very intelligible, like exit music for a film. That's clearly like a running away or maybe even a suicide. Who knows? But it's something sad and bad is happening. And then, you know, I understand those lyrics, but mostly for them, it's about the emotional connection of the music and the sound of Tom's voice, less than the actual lyrics telling some kind of story. That doesn't really matter to me most of the time.
I'm with that. I don't know what he's saying half the time, but I know what he's saying. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're all saying the same thing, my guy.
I'm digging what you're saying, Noel.
I'm taking what you're putting down. No, but I mean, I think that's a power. That is a magic trick to be able to shoot sound waves through a speaker or earbuds and make people feel something without manipulating them by telling them a story or that has a punchline, you know? And yet you somehow feel the emotional weight of these songs and kind of understand the experience of the song, of the singer and the songwriter, but it's not like he's got some clever turn of phrase all the time that you're like, oh, I get what he's saying. That's so me. No, it's not about that to me. That's a good one. I like that sound. Yeah. That's piano. Like
Manipulated
backwards piano. Yeah, it's like treated. It sounds a little backwardsy, but it's also just really round and bubbly sounding. And yeah. Really
bubbly is right. I was gonna say this sounds like I'm picturing a mer person at the pipe organ or something. I think this is going to be in the new live action Little Mermaid. Actually, they wanted it to be as depressing as Hans Christian Andersen's original fairy tale.
You've read. I imagine you're familiar with
Yes,
that.
it's brutal.
It's so messed up and sexist. Weird. It's weird, man. Like she kind of gets her feet cut off essentially, and like she feels it like painful stabbing, you know, in her feet, and there's blood and all kinds of horrible things that happen in that.
Yeah. But the Walt Disney Corporation saw something else.
Good for I mean, it was all just, honestly, if you think about it, I mean, not to get too off topic, but all that stuff was just intellectual property that they could just take.
Oh, absolutely.
And then they just kind of did their own thing with it. And now they, like, for all intents and purposes, feel like they own it, which is ironic considering that, Mickey Mouse is finally about to properly enter the public domain.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Well, they basically changed intellectual property laws. If it hadn't been for Disney and trying to protect and extend the copyright on the mouse, things would have entered into the public domain much sooner. But they, through lobbying and whatever, made that, a thing. And now finally they've reached the limits even they themselves, kind of helped create.
Noel, if you look at what I'm wearing right now, you'll see I am a copyright law scofflaw. I've got an illegal Mickey Mouse tearing his head off sweater on here. I accidentally wore this. I accidentally wore this picking my kid up from school once, and had multiple children shriek.
They made faces.
Yeah. Parents made faces. Children were just traumatized.
There was this dude in Athens. I used to live in Athens, Georgia, which you guys probably know is like a serious music town. You know,
REM.
and B-52s and of Montreal, and Elephant Six and all of that incredible stuff. But there was this dude named Paul Thomas, not Paul Thomas Anderson, but he had this really cool shop that was, I forget what it's called now, but it was called X-Ray Cafe. And back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, he would do cool like weird dance parties there. But earlier than that, even in the 80s, he would screen print these kind of psychedelic Mickey Mouse shirts, and they found him. The mouse found him. They came for him.
Wow.
And they shut him down where he couldn't do that. They'd cease and desisted his ass.
Holy shit. Now, I want to kick it over to Zach and get your take on Glass Eyes.
You know, that song is really cool because to me, it's again, like Burn the Witch. It's really an integration of Johnny's orchestral work. I mean, it is a piano song, but there's something about it, the bounciness and the melody that reminds me a lot of the Phantom Thread score. And I just think that speaks to, you know, the band's musical progression. And I don't have a ton more to say on the musicality of it, but I do feel like that's maybe a Greenwood piece on the piano instead of a Tom piece, just because of how well executed it is. Not that Tom's not a great piano player, but it is evocative of Phantom Thread for me, and I love that. I like it a lot.
It's
what
more
it is.
melodic
It's
playing though than Tom usually. Tom usually does chunkier, more
true.
chord driven piano songs. I think that's a good guess.
I will say the fact that we just had kind of a whole side conversation on top of it implies that it is basically an ambient piece. It worked really well. Nothing about it is mega grabby.
Yeah.
It doesn't really call attention or insist upon itself. And it just sort of allows you to sort of like exist around it. And it doesn't really need to be acknowledged. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, maybe I'm overstating the case, but that to me is what ambient music is. And even though ambient music usually wouldn't have like a vocal melody or discernible lyrics or anything, that to me is kind of the first truly ambient piece on the record, almost like a Tree Fingers, but like with lyrics, you know?
Yeah, Tree Fingers, but way better.
I mean, I like Tree Fingers, you know? I mean,
We defend Tree Fingers. No,
Tree
here on
Fingers
Idiot
is-
Talk, we're pro Tree Fingers, but
No, I know what you mean. There's usually 1 to 2 songs, like whenever Walker and I focus in on an album, that totally unconsciously we'll find ourselves talking about whatever the fuck. And that, like you just said, like that was a good one to do that over. It is lovely to have in the background. And it's also lovely to dissect if that's something you like to do. But I do think that one is one of those tracks.
I will just say that I really like what both you said. That for me, I will identify it as the one kind of skippable on the record for me. But at the same time, it's about 2.5 minutes long.
Right.
It's very short. It's very pretty. It's kind of a nice midpoint reset, and I'm not mad at it. It's just it's the only one where I maybe zone out a little bit on that one. But I'll tell you what, it leads us into something that is one of my 2 favorite songs on the album, and that is Identikit.
absolute slapper. Super dubby. Let's get into that. Oh my God. Yeah, dude, that it's dubby as crap. I love
groovy,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah, but it's that King Tubby, Lee Scratch Perry kind of vibe. And it totally, you know, like I've always described Colin's bass playing as dubby, but they don't really play songs that feel dubby. This one does. This is that beat that is that dub reggae kind of beat where the snare is in a weird place. Like the snare is on the, I think it's like this, the kick kind of goes where the snare should go. It's maybe not quite that exactly, but it does have that dub reggae kind of vibe, you know?
I love that. I would not be able to put it in those terms, but I kind of feel that I think this is a little bit of a new rhythm for Radiohead too. Like this doesn't, for me,
it's a very like, yeah, man, it really is that kind of dubby vibe. I'm sorry I keep saying that, but it's just,
no, I love it.
It's really cool, and it's neat. I don't even think the bass, it's guitar that's doing what Colin usually would do on the bass, and then the bass comes in a little later, doing that sparse, awesome thing that he does. I love this song. Such a great song.
I think it's also worth pointing out too that we get the title of the album. Those backing vocals are saying a moon-shaped pool, dancing clothes, you love and now I know, but hold me, hold me.
We haven't really talked about the fact that the title of the record's sort of a grammatically incorrect, you know? Like, is it a moon? Wouldn't moon-shaped be hyphenated or like one word? Moon-shaped?
We taled about that last week, actually.
Okay. Well, I want to hear. I didn't hear the episode yet, so I want to hear your take really quickly, if you could. Like,
so I think that
shaped pool under a moon, and then shaped the pool, or is it a pool shaped like the moon? What do you guys?
That was kind of my take. Is so actually, real quick, if I could just pause. This reminds me very much of what they're doing in The Smile.
Big time.
And I love it.
That song, The Smoke. That's the same dubby kind of like offbeat polyrhythm thing. It slaps.
And and then the way Johnny
there's also
was doing,
proto smile in the end too that we'll need to call attention to.
Exactly. So I wanted to interject that. No, but I think what's great about a moon-shaped pool and the lack of hyphen is, I mean, Noel, you said it. Is it a pool-shaped moon, or is it like a pool shaped by the moon? I tend to think that it is more, the reason they removed the hyphen is along the same lines, but I think it just speaks to like the circularity of everything, the planet itself, or the pool itself, and the circularity of life is kind of my take on it.
By the way, proof positive here that my previous statement about that wasn't a children's choir might be wrong. They definitely have a children's choir here, and they may have had them stick around for that vocal part that I thought was maybe a synth, but I'm also not convinced because that one did have kind of a really weird synthetic quality, and it wasn't making words.
That's interesting, though, because my contention is that it's them and perhaps manipulating the vocals digitally or with what's the word you use? Modular synths?
Shifting. Yeah, I mean, it's.
I think it's them, but maybe it isn't.
I don't think so. That has the quality of human children to me. I don't know, but that is.
There is an album name, "The Quality of Human Children."
Yeah, by the Boards of Canada.
Yeah, if people be like, "This is a QAnon conspiracy right now." The quality,
actually.
Yeah.
So we got some more smile sounding Johnny Greenwood.
Yes, right here. Let's listen to this ending.
Yeah, let's turn it up a bit. And
he basically
hammer-ons, and you can tell he's using that Gibson. He never really thought he was a Gibson guy.
No.
He was always a Telly guy, and now all of a sudden he's rocking this gold top Les Paul. And it's a vibe, man. You know what I mean? Like I just bought a Les Paul Epiphone standard because of how stoked I was on Johnny using that thing and realizing like it was a flavor I didn't have in my guitar arsenal, which is a word that I just coined.
I love that.
But it does a thing like it's really percussive and attacky. Not to mention that if you slam it with some gain, it'll just rip your head off. And we all know and love that sound. But that's not how Johnny uses it. He uses it real clean. And it just for that percussive, attacky thing. And he can do those taps with his right hand on the fretboard and then kind of pulling off and doing those hammer-ons, which is what gives it that really kind of chunky percussive quality. But it's not gainy like a Les Paul would normally be used.
You took the words right out of my mouth and then added a bunch that I would not have been able to to articulate, because when I was listening to this, I'm like, as far as I can pick out different guitar sounds, this to me seems like the debut of Johnny on the Les Paul.
I agree.
And and a couple things about that guitar part. I think it is the first time we have heard a guitar solo in a Radiohead song since maybe Hail to the Thief and Go to Sleep. And also that is what they build. That is what they end up building an entire song out of on The Smile. That is basically an early version of the riff for The Opposite, I want to say.
But it's almost like it's out of time a little bit.
Yeah.
Or it's sort of, what's the word? Like it's the measure is too short, and so it loops over on itself and becomes this sort of like oscillating kind of thing where the one is constantly moving a little bit, like the way John Bonham did the drums in like say Immigrant Song,
Sure.
Where it's sort of he's playing it shorter than the rest of the band, and so therefore it sort of loops back on itself and creates this polyrhythmic thing. I think that's a really fun technique.
So if I could that is my
please.
second favorite song on the album.
It's a wonderful song. I'm with you.
It is
there.
so good. I love
Do you guys
it.
rank at the end? Do you do?
No.
Okay,
I just
we just do it as we go. Okay.
I wanted to do that just because, or rank this song as number 2 and not number 1 because I have a complaint about it.
It's too short. You wish it was double
don't like
length.
the way the guitar is mixed so down at the end. It's fine that it's clean. It's fine that it's low. And it's fine at this point to level a complaint, because I'm not saying I want Radiohead to be Led Zeppelin, but I want that guitar tone. I want to hear it more. And I get that Radiohead's thing is subverting, and that's kind of a Nigel thing too. But it bums me out that it's such a cool part. It does make me happy because we get it louder in the mix and the smile. That's my complaint about that song, and I love it. But I just wish it was louder at the end.
I respectfully disagree. I've got it in my ears now, separately from the feed that you're sending, and I'm kind of like listening to the way it's got a fun stereo thing that it's doing.
Yeah.
So the clean version is sort of on the left, and then the right, there's sort of a micro delay that's just like a little bit after the fact, and it really, I don't know that I want it louder. I feel like it blends in. I mean, I'm not saying your opinion and what you would prefer is invalid.
Okay.
I'm just saying I don't know that it would benefit from that. I feel like it has that same thing where we're talking about it sounds heavy without being heavy. And I think that's, that is a Nigel thing. And it's definitely a choice. Like, I've learned mixing records and working in the studio. It's like so many of these things are what a producer friend of mine just calls tastemaker shit, where it's like, you could do it a million different ways, obviously, and achieve something similar. But this is the way you chose to do it, and therefore that's your stamp. That's kind of your thing, and it's going to appeal to some people, and some people are going to be turned off by it. So it's honestly case in point that we're having this discussion.
No, but I love that you're coming at it though from that angle, because I do know that you know quite a bit about production, definitely a lot more than myself, and I wonder how many iterations of that where it was maybe the version I want, because. I do feel like the opposite on the Smile. I feel like it is more front in the mix, and I love that song. But I just wonder with Radiohead, and maybe with this song even, how many different versions there were, and if the version that I'm fantasizing about would in fact be the right one. I think that this song does that thing because it is so amazing, and it like you guys were saying, there's that Gibson sound. House of Cards is actually the first song he's ever played a Gibson on in the studio but this is would be maybe number 2. And that's what I love is just that. There's that longing and yearning sometimes for, I don't want to say the rock and roll, but I bet you they chose the right one is what I feel, even though I was asking for something else.
No, I think that's absolutely valid, and there's nothing wrong with. I like that kind of in a way where you can think of like the alternate universe versions of a song in a way, and like how many didn't make it, how many alternate takes exist, and will anyone ever even hear them? Do they even still exist?
They're such a treasure when they finally emerge. We listened to the OK Computer era
that stuff's neat
version of Nude. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but it's a rock song, and it's amazing. It's not better than the In Rainbows version, but it's still such an amazing alternate version of it.
Or like the Coachella version of Videotape, where it's this totally propulsive drum thing. And there's a really amazing, I forget who it is. It was a website that does these videos called Earworm, where they talk about the kind of hidden rhythm in Videotape. And on the record version, they emphasized basically they got rid of it. Like, Tom's doing dun 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 dun, and you think that's the one, but the one actually happens in between. So it's and it's like in the Coachella tape, you can see that Tom's struggling to find where that is, because he's playing what to the untrained ear sounds like the one, but then the drums actually are the one, but they happen on beat 2. And so I think, that's a neat thing. You got to wonder, like, what other iterations of, like True Love Waits has been around since that live. I mean, longer than that, but there was that live Amnesiac record that I might be wrong. Maybe it was what it was called. Yep. And they do this. They've been playing this song acoustically for years, but then this is the presentation they decided was the end all be all version. And it's odd. And I love that. It's really odd. And same with the version they chose for Videotape. It's freaking odd. And they have this like magic trick. I keep using that because that's what they do, hidden in there, and it's like it's almost like it's only for them.
So one thing I did want to say about Identikit, Noel, you brought up Dex Dark being the spiritual sequel to Subterranean Homesick Alien. I think this song is very much a sequel to Idiotech. I almost said Idiotalk. Both in naming convention and not not sonically, but in lyrics, So this is the second reference on this album to human beings as ragdolls. Let's see, I've got it pulled up here. It says, pieces of ragdoll mankind that we can't create, that we can create. Ooh. And then it's also similarly exploring this idea of kind of head in the sand, don't tell me the bad news that we hear on Idiotech.
Right.
When I see you messing me around, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Uh-huh. This also being the song where it talks about the titular moon-shaped pool. If we go with Zach's interpretation of that, of just kind of the circular nature of everything, this to me kind of sounds like another world-ending song, but it's talking about the world as something that will continue past the eradication of the pieces of ragdoll mankind. Mm-hmm. And even that title, Identikit, I was like, well, what does that mean? And to me, it sounds like it's about human beings being this sort of thing that we think of as the definition of reality, kind of the default, the default most important thing, but maybe to the world's perspective, we're something they can end and create at their own will. That's it. Want to hear what you think about it?
I'm about to be the actually guy for the first.
Please.
An Identikit is
a real thing.
Drawing. Yeah, it's a sketch of a suspect. They call them Identikit drawings in the UK. We would call them artist rendering or whatever.
Oh my God.
Sketch artist or whatever. What do you call those? Police sketch. We call them a police sketch over here. In the UK, they're called Identikits.
Oh, wow. I had no idea that it was. Yeah. It looks like such a made up.
Looks like a made up word.
Radiohead word to me.
I don't think I knew that. I found it. Have you guys seen a Toast of London?
No.
It's Matt Berry, who's in What We Do in the Shadows. He talks like this.
I love Matt Berry.
He's phenomenal. Well, he's in he plays this character named Stephen Toast, who is a failed actor or kind of like a
great fake name.
It's fucking incredible. It's hilarious. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I adore it. And there's a character who's his arch nemesis, whose name is Ray Purchase, and the show is full of names like that: Stephen Toast, Ray Purchase. I can't think of any others off the top of my head right now, but they're all just absurd names. And in the very first episode, they talk about how Ray Purchase is gotten a job doing Identikit drawings. His manager's telling him this, and then you see Ray Purchase drawing, feverishly a rendering of a person on the lam.
Wow, I really did not. You could have given me a million guesses of what Identikit meant, and I would not have come up with that. I'm going to edit everything I said that was wrong out, and then just really quickly drop me in going, I think this song is actually about police sketch drawings. I don't know if you guys ever thought about that.
That's funny. I just Googled it. Just have it's a picture of a person reconstructed from strips showing facial features selected to match witnesses' descriptions. That's interesting. Used by the police to build a likeness of a person sought for a crime. Synonyms: police sketch, composite sketch, facial composite, photo fit. I don't know photo fit. That's But I wonder if that changes your interpretation of the song at all. Because sometimes these,
it puts me back to a place of being puzzled about what thematically what the title is referencing. Right. I do think that the song is kind of about this idea of exploring humans as kind of this artificial or at least very temporary presence on the planet, and it maybe the planet having a bit of a conscious will of its own to get rid of us if it wants to. That's what it. But it's like you said, it's vibes. That's the vibe that it gives me.
For days. Also, the idea of an Identikit drawing is it's not really you. It's just your likeness, and it might not even look like you at all. It's sort of like who even are you, man?
Sure.
Speaking of that, the numbers. This song is like 60s groovalicious vibes, man, for days, man. It's so Buffalo Springfield or that kind of.
It's a jam.
It's a total jammer. It's that Laurel Canyon kind of vibes, that LA in the 60s kind of flower sunshine kind of feeling, but with a sadness to it,
I definitely hear that. When I was tripping on listening to it last night, actually, was if you took out the piano, to me, this completes the trifecta of Radiohead songs, conscious or not, paying homage to a Jimmy Page Led Zeppelin jam. Like this is
very Stairway to Heaven.
not even Stairway. I think of more. I mean, for sure, but like I think of more like Ramble On, like those high Jimmy Page chords, saying like a D major shape or something that he would do. Like it's even broken down. I can almost hear Robert Plant over this instead of Tom being like, "Girl,
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's that, yes,
yeah, totally.
that vagabond. But no, but it literally is kind of that part in Stairway. Da, 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 da,
Oh,
da, 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 da. It's like that's the kind of shape, but he does use that a lot.
Yeah. No, but I dig what you're saying.
I want to point out something here. If we just listen to these kind of extemporaneous little piano flourishes, this to me is a definite John on the piano. Johnny, not Tom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Agreed. I also wanted to speak to what you guys were saying that this sounds like. I think those are both really good references for kind of the vibe of the song. To me, talking again of kind of spiritual sequels to Radiohead songs, this is a much more successful version of the kind of jam they're doing with Punch Up at a Wedding.
Oh, yeah. I like
right? Where and this time Colin is properly quieter in the mix.
You're right.
I had a lot of
does
complaining.
have a bass groove. Did you find that to be a little too in your face?
I like the playing. A lot of my problems, some of my problems with Hail to the Thief are the songs, but a lot of it is just I don't feel like Nigel is bringing the same level of kind of precision to the mixing and production choices. And that was one where I like the song just fine, but it feels a little sloppily put together. And the bass being at the forefront doesn't feel like a Radiohead move to me. Now these strings are
the
fucking
strings
awesome.
even feel Zeppelin-y. Like there are some
Very.
Zeppelin songs where they have like a
Kashmir.
more orchestral feel. Kashmir,
Big time.
yeah. It totally is a Kashmir vibe, and I just love it because it's, music doesn't exist in a vacuum. Noel, since we've had you on, you've mentioned, and I've written down quite a few of them, some bands that are so important to you, and a few of them I never even heard of. And it's just so funny how, like, when for me, I've been Radiohead, and obviously Zeppelin are important to me as well. It's so easy to marry sound, in your mind, but then there is that thing when I'm like, I know Radiohead listened to Led Zeppelin, and you can't, completely and it's kind of beautiful when that happens because they are very at odds with one another in my mind.
Oh,
they're
big
not.
time.
But they're not.
Well,
though.
I mean, I would say Led Zeppelin is much brasher and
For sure.
more like, big dick kind of rock,
Yes.
and Radiohead is much more gentle and kind of cerebral, and
Right.
Led Zeppelin's literally singing about fairies and golems and shit, and Radiohead's much more open-ended and kind of like, mysterious.
Yeah. And it's only been in the guitar playing where I've ever been able to kind of make that alignment and Go to Sleep and in actually Pyramid Song. I think sounds kind of like Robert Plant could sing it.
Especially some of the acoustic stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think, honestly, Led Zeppelin doesn't really get enough credit for their acoustic jams, but they've got a very signature acoustic kind of sound,
Oh, yeah.
for certain tunes.
That's why Led Zeppelin 3 is my favorite Zepp album. Most
Same. It's
acoustic
got
one.
everything they do.
Yeah.
And Friends is an absolutely mind-blowingly cool, creepy acoustic song of theirs. I love that record so much.
Would you believe I have not heard Led Zeppelin 3? I'm looking it up right now.
It opens
and I'm
with
like,
Immigrant Song.
I know Immigrant Song. I know some of the songs. I mean, I know
Oh.
the bangers, but I have
On
not
Your
listened to it like as a. I know Tangerine.
Do you know
but I've
Since
not
I've Been
listened
Loving You?
to it. Like I said, I know some of the songs, but to me, bands like this, especially of that era, they're records, man. Like you got to listen to them. Like, and that's how I feel about Radiohead too, which is another reason why I think they're so important. They continue to make cohesive records.
Oh,
in
sure.
this playlist kind of era, But I'm realizing
Oh, yeah.
that while I know a lot of the songs on this record, I've never sat down and listened to it. Like I don't know Gallows Pole. I don't know That's the Way. I don't know Brawny or Stomp. I don't know Hats Off.
No.
Well,
I don't know Friends. I don't know Friends. Like you just mentioned Friends. I don't know this tune.
Well, listen, my homework that I'm taking away from this is Slint and Tortoise. Yours is to put on a black light.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Put up a poster of a like some toadstools and a wizard standing over them, and then imbibe
Exhaling
whatever
very thick and sticky looking smoke. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. Kick the kids out of the house. Say, Daddy has to go open his third eye and put on Led Zeppelin 3 in its entirety.
Oh, my kid's seen my third eye plenty. It's all good. It's usually wide open. But no, this is so cool because I love that. Even as much of a nerd as you can see that I am, I love that I can occasionally, more than occasionally, stumble upon something that I'm like, wow, how did I sleep on this? Like, it doesn't make sense. So very
with Led
excited.
Zeppelin 3, it's such a trip. And hey, it's their most acoustic album in my opinion. And speaking of acoustic, this next song coming up on this Radiohead album, but that one is Jimmy Page in his bag, and it's before I think the drugs got really intense. But anyway, speaking of all that, we are on my favorite song of the album. This song does everything for me. I want to kick it over to either of you first, but I love this song so much.
It's very good. I think, yeah, it's hard for me. I mean, gosh, that's how I know this is one that I couldn't do this for King of Limbs. Like, I could tell you that Lotus Flower's on, and I could tell you that, the ghosty one. What's the ghost one called?
Give up the ghost.
That one's cool. I know that one. Something about a magpie. There's a magpie related song.
Mr. Magpie.
Yeah, I remember that one. But like, I could not do this for that album. And this one, I'm looking now after having like experienced it with y'all, and I'm having a hard time making the list. Like, I would put Glass Eyes just because it's not a serious song. Let's be honest. It's like a little blip. It's like a little stub.
Yeah.
But
interstitial.
I'm having a hard time ranking these correctly, and this is definitely up there, man. This one rules. And the numbers is incredible.
You know why I love it so much is, I mean, I could never. So this is one I know how to play. I can't play it perfectly, and it incorporates so much of what we've all, independent of each other, I think, talked about in one way or the other, which is like what I mean. I know I was talking about like the melodic longing that sometimes exists, even in the numbers. How I said I wish it was turned up, and I love the way you kind of bounce that back. This song its picking pattern is not a pinch inside outside, and in fact it's like one string short of that, and it makes it so hard. Even though there's less going on than say like I don't know, like a Dust in the Wind type picking pattern, and that's what makes
definitely
it so
a finger picked thing. You think like he's definitely
yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then obviously like Radiohead with the left hand is never simple either rather. But what I love is I think this song really for me I could listen to this guitar playing forever, and there's very few Radiohead songs that I love where I'm like, oh, that wouldn't get repetitive. I think the drums are the only one where I'm like, and obviously forever would be, I don't mean literally forever, but I could listen to this guitar every single place it goes on loop all day long and not get sick of it. And that's what it reminds me of. It's just that like circularity and the beauty of that and perfection. And I love, even with the percussion, bringing the shaker back, and it's just to me it gives me I think it's the closest is what Walker's been asking for since the Eraser, of a lo-fi like Tom York album. Even though this is a Radiohead album, this is like what I imagine like the perfection of that could be. Those are kind of my general thoughts.
This is great. No, this is really smart. Spot on. I can't really add much to it, but I just have to add a little piece of silly studio trivia, I guess.
Sure.
The shaker is the most sought after piece of musical equipment in any studio. To get the perfect sounding shaker is like a big deal. And also to play a shaker well, it requires someone with very, very good rhythm and muscle memory and control. Like you gotta it's all about like how small a move can you do, and if you watch the basement sessions, you'll see that a lot of the shaker sets, they're using water bottles with like sand in them or something, and like that is such a move, and I love that, and it really shows that is a thing. You got the perfect set of maracas, or the perfect fake fruit shaker that you bought at like the local music store. But a shaker can be such an important element that like elevates a thing, and you wouldn't think that, but it really does. It's something about it that adds this movement that's similar to what a hi-hat does, but it's looser, and it kind of ties the room together, as the dude would say,
And who's man in the shaker most of the time in Radiohead, but Ed Big Dick O'Brien. over there.
He's bringing that beady energy to the shaker, and he's not just. You can't not be some stumbling buffoon rocking the shaker.
No.
You got to have some nuance and some delicacy in the way you move, and so that's awesome, man. Good job, Ed.
Yeah.
You did good.
It's one thing to have a big dick. It's another thing to know how to use it and not trip over it on your way to the
with his big dick.
I think
That'd be a thing to behold. Just kind of wrap it around it like an elephant's trunk. You know?
I have some videos of him doing that. I'll send you for off.
That's for the Patreon, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to chime in with that. This is also my favorite song on the album.
Yes,
and
it's a wonderful song.
It's so fucking good, and it's to me like the chords that are being played on the guitar. This is like the most Elliott Smithy sounding kind of chord progression. I also, as much as we've talked about like the lyrics being kind of abstract or not knowing the right ones, this is one where I was pretty close of what I thought I heard is what is being said, and I just think this is such a great meditation on kind of anxiety and fighting the feeling of being in your body. And Tom York always speaks to that kind of idea so well with a great deal of personal experience, you can tell. But I mean, even just the name, right? Present tense. To me, this whole song is kind of about fighting to get out of the moment and temporarily being able to do it, but always kind of coming back to being in your own head and your own body. Even just the like opening lines, this dance is like a weapon against the present tense. I love that because I feel like he can be literally referring to a dance. Like this song has a lot of kind of party imagery where it's like, hey, I've got my world's crashing down, but I'm over here dancing, freaking out. Stay out of my face. Don't talk to me about it. Don't get heavy. But also just a dance as like the performance of life. Like I'm faking it. I'm over here doing the dance, you know?
See, I hear that, but the way the upswing of that note, I'll be dancing, it's like positive as fuck sounding. It's jubilant. It's like I'm dancing. I'm like, I'm getting a little emotional talking about it. Like I really feel like that. I agree with you, but again, I don't really read the lyrics. But when I hear that song and I hear him say, I'll be dancing, freaking out, I'm thinking freaking out like having a psychedelic freak out, man.
Totally.
That, and whether he meant that or not, that's what I always associated with. And it's because of where that note goes. It's because of the jubilance with which he's saying it. And I don't know.
I'm so with you, Noel, because I think that where it changes there, it in the beginning, this dance of self-defense is when the chords are darker and it's more of a minor key. And then, like you said, the note changes there. I think that is the moment where it's like, I am achieving some sort of relief. And I almost wonder if it's like literally through music in this case, like that this is where I'm achieving some sort of peace with the present. Yeah. Because right after that, I'm dancing, freaking out. We get that in you, I'm lost, in you, I'm lost. And that's also very pretty and optimistic sounding compared to those verses too. So I do think that this song is like fighting with itself.
And you're right.
And
cool.
I love that about it.
No, I agree. This is fun for me because like I said, I don't typically come to Radiohead stuff with the lyrics in mind, so this is a new way of me to experience it with you guys, and that's really neat. But yeah, what a killer tune.
I think I could, I mean, gosh, both of you, so well said. I think that's why I could listen to this song on repeat like all the time, because it's not like I love Paranoid Android and I love, whatever, but it's so circular. And with the part you were both talking about where it goes to the major of sorts, in you I'm lost, when but it comes back, and a lot of songs will close with whatever they open with, but this song is interesting because you never really think about, there's not really a chorus. It's such a journey into what you were saying, Walker, about how like maybe it's music that's the thing, and that he can have a present tense about and be happy with. I love that we still, if that is the case, it still closes on what is essentially like a finger-picked riff that has a more minor melodic quality to it, which is kind of the story of Radiohead. Is like we might have these peaks of happiness but we're always going back to that little bit of darkness. And I just love that song so much. It's incredible.
And it's so in character for them. It's like it's not reinventing the wheel. It's something that's familiar and comforting, but it is different. The sound of this record is different to me.
Yes.
Overall,
Yeah.
it's a little more open, kind of, or something. Like it almost sounds like a jazz record. I don't know. It's weird. Like so, I'm having a hard time describing it, but
well, that's Radiohead.
It is a little bit of it's a little bit of a different feel to me than I mean, they always kind of do that, but then you always have the common denominator being Nigel. But you're right, and what you were describing about Hail to the Thief is actually something that I really like. I think it's sort of different. The sloppiness is cool, and they did that like in L.A. In like a big studio where they were kind of all set up live. And so a lot of the basic tracks for that one were captured live, which is where that comes from. And then a lot of things were overdubbed. So anyway, sorry, I'm going on a tangent of Radiohead production, but this one does have a sound that's different than any of their other records, but it's still somehow very familiar.
The only thing I want to push back on of what you just said is when you apologized for going on a Radiohead tangent. Noel,
Sorry.
This is Idiot Talk, a Radiohead podcast. This is
the venue.
we don't have the iHeartRadio rules of you can't talk about Radiohead here. This is iHeartRadiohead.
Do you think that it's because they think that Radiohead sort of stole their thunder a little bit with using that word radio?
I think so. They're trying to be what people think of when they hear the word radio. They want a Radiohead to be somebody who listens to iHeartRadio.
It's a branding play.
Yeah, they're like, hey, the Talking Heads had harbored no bitterness about this, but we're going to be better about it. You know.
What record is that song on, by the way? That Talking Heads
True
song?
Stories.
That's right. Well, it's the movie, but then there's that. I don't think of that as an album. I think of that as a movie. So I think that's why I maybe because I love that's one of my other most favorite bands. This is an odd one right here. I like this one. I mean, odd. Again, they're all kind of odd. There's an oddness to this band. Let's just put that out there. But this one is very hushed, and it really kind of grows and sort of like ebbs in this really interesting way.
I slept on this one for a long time. This is Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Rich Man, Poor Man, Beggar Man, Thief, which is a Fiona Apple-ass title, if I have ever heard one.
It's cut off on my Spotify right now. I never knew what the last part even was. I have this on vinyl though, so I really have no excuse. But it is cut off at Poor Man, buh. It's just buh. Yeah.
Well,
This to
fellas,
me-
it's 11
Oh, go ahead.
words long, and there's 11 tracks on the album. I'm sorry, Walker. Please go ahead.
Oh no, I love that. That's a fun.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a fun bit of trivia. That sounds like a Jeopardy clue for just Radiohead specific Jeopardy.
It does appear to be the least popular song on the album as far as Spotify plays are concerned.
It doesn't really surprise me. They dropped it from the live set after playing it only a couple times on tour. It is a sleepy one, but I think it's really cool. To me,
cool.
it's very much, and I mean this not as a compliment, it sounds like a Kid A B-side to me. It's like, being played on the road
completely without a trace or whatever. Like it could be after that or something.
And just the strings melody is very strange and dark, and to use a word you used earlier in the pod, kind of an Eastern scale sound. Also, just the slightly distorted Fender Rhodes that's driving the song is not a sound we've heard a lot of on this album so far. But I think it's a cool, creepy song.
It is. It just occurred to me though that a lot of the string arrangements on this record are very James Bondy.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is I feel like this song was born out of the Spectre sessions, because this one to me, Noel, sounds so much, especially the orchestral part.
I mean, it really has that classic kind of Burt Bacharach-y vibes. You know what I mean? R.I.P. By the way.
But do you know about the
I do,
the James
and I've
Bond
heard the
connection?
tune. I've heard it. It's kind of dull, frankly. It didn't really do much for me. I just remember thinking it was pretty, but it didn't grab me. It felt like an outtake, and you know, James Bond songs need to be brash and big, and it just didn't quite fit the bill. You know what I mean? But I think those arrangements come from James Bond movies are neat because it's like a visual history of Hollywood in terms of like what was popular at the time, all of that stuff in terms of like the stuff in the movies. But the music is such a classic kind of big Hollywood string thing. And I think you can't not be influenced by that if you're doing orchestral work.
Have you gotten a chance to watch that documentary, the music of Bond movies?
No,
it's on
but
HBO.
I would love to. I would love to.
My gosh, to both of you, it's
phenomenal. On there on HBO. Why do they not put that in my feed, man? HBO app sucks.
HBO Max is one of the most poorly designed apps I have ever seen for such a
unbelievably bad.
But this documentary is unbelievably good, so I would love for you both to watch it.
I will. No, I'm putting it on my list. I might even watch it tonight after I get out of here. This is that's exciting because again, I mean, like I'm a big fan of Burt Bacharach, but not because of what he contributed. I like, a lot of the records that he's on and the film stuff, but it is of a time and it's not something that I would always listen to, but he created the template for kind of these big schmaltzy string arrangements that bands like Air, kind of took and ran with. And I would argue that Johnny is very much a part of that tradition as well, or at least,
I love it.
Carrying it forward.
Now, before we move on past this one, I do just want Zach. How do you feel about Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Rich Man, Poor Man, Beggar Man, Thief? Are you a fan of this one?
Really enjoy it. I really like it for what we were just kind of talking about. Like I do hear just kind of some leftovers from what I am at. I mean, I'm only imagining this. I also like the idea of it being kind of a B-side from Kid A. I think that there's a couple of the songs that are a little sleepier to me. I know Burn the Witch was from that era, but do feel like they could have come from those sessions. But that is one, even though, as Noel said, is very low on the Spotify plays, that I really like to have on, and like is a sleepier one, but is like it shouldn't be that way. I like to actively listen to it. Those are kind of my general thoughts. I'm a big fan of that one.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's one that it took doing this podcast and the album being out, 7 years for me to kind of think about that song and just it not be background noise. And it's become a sleeper favorite for me. I really like that song. And unfortunately, that means it's the penultimate song. So that means that we're kind of coming up right at the end here. Is this Zach, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to back up, beep beep. Even though I don't think we should add this, the documentary is called "The Sound of 007," and it is on Amazon Prime, not on HBO. So even though
monster.
HBO Max app is poorly designed, but it is a fantastic documentary. But True Love waits, and we will have to wait to watch it. Back to you, Walker.
Oh, Zach, that's really funny that you just said that because the next song is called True Love Waits. And it goes like this.
So, reading about this album and pulling quotes from Nigel, I realize he's kind of the George Martin, the unofficial sixth member, but his comments about this song and Tom's previous versions on the aforementioned I Might Be Wrong live album, it does go all the way back to a 1995 show. He said Tom's version has always been terrible and it sucks.
Whoa.
Using those words. And he said, and we finally got it.
Which version was you referring to? This version?
The acoustic version.
The acoustic version on both of those. And I'm like, Nigel, like, yeah, if I played something for Walker and we were joking around, he's like, that sucks. Like, yeah, I could laugh it off. But he was like telling it to him, I'm like, Nigel, take it easy, buddy.
Yeah, you're out of order. Honestly, look. I'm a huge fan of Nigel Godrich. His contribution to the band is cannot be overstated. But I have to say, fuck you. You don't talk about True Love Waits like that. I mean, you write a song.
I will say, though, to be devil's advocate here and from the producerly side, the version that Tom does, it's a little trite. You know what I mean? Like the acoustic, it's sort of like that annoying friend that plays fake plastic trees on their acoustic guitar, but you're actually Tom York. Like, to me, this version, again, it's odd. It relies on this weird little kind of piano figure, and it really highlights the beauty of the vocal, and it's just really like, kind of isolated and like, on its own little island. But the version that he plays, and I might be wrong, it's like it might as well be a Keen song or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it doesn't give it its grandeur. It does not, it robs it of its like delicate beauty. because he's just kind of strumming, like banging away on the guitar like an annoying kid singing a cover at a frat party.
I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but it's also it's one of
You
those
don't talk
songs-
out of school like that, though, Nigel. I'm with you on that.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
just a bad look.
You were
know what I'm saying?
just much more respectful and considerate in your comments than Nigel being like, "It's shite, isn't it?" or whatever. Like it sounds like
Brits.
yeah, it sounds like maybe he was like, maybe like Tom took the last bagel bite out of the studio freezer that day or something.
The last
one
crisp.
too many points down the pub. Am I right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
That's
now how do we feel about that? We talk about crisps in this song.
I like it. I like the lyric. I like the lyric to the song. It's odd. Again, I keep using that word, but like the lyrics, like the images he chooses to fixate on are unusual. And wash your swollen feet. Obviously, he's talking about a pregnant woman, like to have your baby and all that. What is the line about crisps though?
True love waits in haunted attics on lollipops and crisps.
Yeah, junk food, garbage food.
Yeah.
So true love is waiting to be placated. Is this song pro true love or anti true love?
Well, Noel, you are touching on some of the kind of beautiful contradictions about this song that make me love it. I want to go back slightly and say this song being a little bit trite, or the acoustic version of it, I think that is right on the money. I also think it's a song where its weakness is kind of its strength because it's Radiohead, and because it's Radiohead on a live album that also has the national anthem, something so abrasive and crazy. I love that there's this very sweet sounding love song, but then you listen to the lyrics and it's like, I'm not convinced that this song is not an indictment of the relationship that is being portrayed here.
No, I think it is. Just don't leave. I don't care. Like the reality of our love is irrelevant. I just don't want to be alone.
Yes, and this is something I love, that when Tom York writes about romantic relationships, it seems to be kind of calling out the unhealthiness of the dynamics taking place. But it really does also, right? Like what is the opening line? I'll drown my beliefs to have your babies.
Yeah, like
Right?
I will kill the thing about myself that makes me me. And I think that is obviously a toxic relationship.
And to me, it kind of begs a question. I think this song it's maybe heightening those things, because maybe that's something Tom York has to do to even feel comfortable writing a love song, right? Is kind of heighten the contradictions and heighten what's gross about it. But it also kind of made me wonder, it's like any love song, is there really truly like a completely 100% healthy version of romantic love and devotion?
Yeah.
And I don't know that there necessarily is. There's certainly unhealthy relationships and healthier relationships, but I think he's kind of calling out that the self-sacrifice that is supposed to be entailed in really loving somebody is kind of sick and crazy. And anyway, those are my thoughts on it, and I want to throw it over to Zach.
Well, I love all that, Walker, and it makes me think of something that you were talking about when we talked about All I Need, a personal favorite of mine, off In Rainbows. Not the favorite, but one of my favorite songs from that album. And how Radiohead does this wonderful thing of inverting the musical palette over something that could be sweet. So All I Need, you could think of it as romantic, but played over kind of the sinister nature of the musicality, it really does feel like somebody that is unaware that they are loved, and maybe it's somebody who's like stalking the other. I might be wrong, has actually some really some optimism to it, but it's a very sinister song. Have ourselves a good time. It's nothing at all. With this one, it's everything that I feel like you both spoke to. I also feel like the title is very interesting to me. You guys were talking about like the unhealthy nature of like drowning your beliefs, suppressing who you are for somebody else. To me, True Love Waits is like if you love somebody and maybe they marry somebody else or something, or you're waiting your entire life for them. Or think of like a lot of the doctrine in like Christianity, wait to have sex.
No,
you
I was
know?
about to say promise keepers, promise ring kind of shit.
Exactly.
You know? Like the idea that true love waits for marriage. So it's a joke. But in this song, he's personified true love like some creepy ghost haunting your attic.
Yes,
who survives on trash food. You know,
And-
it's incredible. It's so smart. It's way
It's so
smarter than one. I mean, fake plastic trees is smart too, but it also occupied this obnoxious crooner, kind of simulacrum thing where, like, again, the guy first learned how to play guitar and realized that he could sing falsetto, was singing that at every party to try to get girls. It really cheapened the song. But it also did not take account of what the song was actually about at all. And this song, I think, kind of understands that dynamic in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's sort of disguised. It's masquerading as the sweet thing, but it's actually kind of bitter, really.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It is more sophisticated than fake plastic trees, even if it was written at the same time. But yeah, that true love waits. I mean, I think a lot of people in the West, have this like Judeo-Christian ethic or whatever. Maybe they're not raised so strictly, but yeah, that whole thing of wait until you're married, and a lot of times, who knows? I don't want to sit here and cast judgment, but it is not, it was in the Twilight movies. It's all about just waiting. And I love that, even whether it was intentional or not, I love that this song is about this weird thing haunting your attic, like you said. And the title for me evokes that whole thing of that pressure of wait. And I just love it. And I love this. I want to say I love this version the most. I love that they fucked with it. It is the right version for me. Those are my thoughts on the song.
I also think True Love Waits is like, it's like a monster waiting behind the corner to leap out and kill you.
Yeah.
In haunted alleys or whatever, in attics. Sorry, it's like it's the monster around the corner that's laying in wait to spring out and fuck you up.
Yeah, I could dig that.
I mean, they really are so good at doing beautiful sounding songs that secretly contain very ominous messages, or kind of dark sounding songs that contain more uplifting messages. And I always love that they like to create a little bit of daylight between the way the song sounds and what it's actually saying. I want to also just go on the record and agree with the sentiment both you have expressed, that this version is absolutely perfect in my mind. I have to admit, that's been a little bit of a overdue realization for me. I was so used to the way it sounded on the guitar as a strummer that I frankly, when I first was getting into this album, which I really liked when it came out and has always stayed high up in the rotation of Radiohead albums for me. But this song, for me, I was a little bit like, yeah, that version's a little bit sleepy. I love it now, and I love the sampled piano kind of little answers that are going on, and the clicks and clacks. The way that stuff is looping and building on itself reminds me a lot of kind of the looping of some of the orchestral phrases that are in How to Disappear Completely.
Totally.
And it's a really perfect way to end the album. I think it bookends very nicely with Noel. I don't know if how this will hit you, but I kind of dubbed this album the black and white version of In Rainbows in our last episode. I think it's kind of taking similar arrangements, but then doing very different songs, working in a much more melancholy key. And I think that this serves very nicely as a similar ending as Videotape does. Just a piano song. This one is even more stripped down. It doesn't really add
that's what I was about to say.
But
I mean, like, Videotape ends pretty aggressively, if I'm not mistaken, with all the offbeat. That's the part when I was talking about the hidden rhythm thing. That's the part where it reveals where that hidden beat is, with those guys that come up. But it ends pretty chaotically. This song ends with no frills, no effects, barely any reverb. It's just, you can hear he sustains the note with the pedal, with the sustain pedal, for a little longer than you might think would be normal to do. And that's, I literally just checked it. I was trying to like remind myself. But to your point about versions, I think of the version conversation is interesting. Do you guys like Arcade Fire?
I do. I mean, I'm really only super familiar with their first big album that What was the one? What was
Funeral?
The one? Yes,
Or-
Funeral,
yeah,
and then
Funeral's-
Neon Bible. I also
It's incredible.
played the
It's
shit
incredible.
out of.
Suburbs is very, very good too. And there's a song on the Suburbs that was actually on their first EP. It's called No Cars Go. And the original version was very, I mean, I kind of hate this term being thrown around, lo-fi, but it really just was probably recorded with minimal equipment. And but they're such a maximal band that you can't have it not sound maximal, even if it's recorded minimally. And then they like did it again in like a big studio, clearly with like every possible thing that they could ask for. And I prefer the kind of quote unquote lo-fi version because it just had some character to it that was missing from the kind of high production value version. So that's an example of like when an original version kind of does hold up and to me is better, because when you try to recapture a thing, because they're also done very similarly, but this is like a whole nother universe, a whole nother interpretation of that song from the version that you probably lived with for quite a while. So versions are very interesting. It's an interesting thing to just in general think about with music, and what is it about? Is it just the way it connected with you, and it's a nostalgia thing because you remember that version and you like that version better because of your memory and what's associated with it in your mind from when you were that age, or is it actually better?
Yeah, I think it's definitely association is kind of inseparable, and I think that maybe I bring different associations to this, listening to it as, somebody, whatever, just all the intervening experiences that I've had since 2016 are imbuing this version with more meaning now than it had for me at the time. And now I do think it is the superior version for this album. I love, as a live song, Tom standing there with the acoustic guitar, strumming out that kind of like college dorm rock version of the song. I love that for what it is too. But let me ask you guys this. This is the last song on the album. This is the last album Radiohead have released. It's been 7 years. There's a new band now. Is True Love Waits, this song that they've had from so long ago in their career, putting this on the end of the album, it ending kind of very suddenly, right? Just like it doesn't fade out. That piano melody has been going so long, but then all of a sudden, foot off the pedal, song's over, album's over. Is this Radiohead saying goodbye?
I think unequivocally, yes. I don't think they have any reason to make another record with that crew when they've got this thing going with the Smile, and they don't need the money. They're playing venues the size that they used to play with Radiohead when they were younger that they can't do anymore because of the ticket scalpers and all that shit. And I think they're just fed up with that. And I think this is where they want to be. I do not think there will be another Radiohead album.
Okay, Zach, what do you say?
Well, I just want to compliment our guest. I love how definitive you are at this, Noel. It's awesome.
Yeah, you really did not have to think about that.
I love it. You did not blink. I think, I agree with Noel. I just think that, and I do think Radiohead would incorporate kind of the economics of it into starting a new band. Like, they're that smart, and they've always kind of really revolted against, like how you mentioned scalpers, and then they, within Rainbows, they broke that model. I just think that might be a little bit of hindsight, though, because the Smile was a pandemic project between Tom and Johnny. So I'm going to say I do think that this is probably the last Radiohead album, but nothing would surprise me.
Totally.
And we'll talk about it when we talk about the album of the Smile directly, of like, I've said it before, I'll say it again, like how that is the only way Radiohead could reinvent themselves at this point and have me care as much as I do, which is why they're geniuses. But I'm just going to say it probably is, but nothing would surprise me.
I just think the thing for me is the Smile is barely a reinvention. It
you're right.
Is the band, it's like the best parts of it. And like, I just think they could do whatever they want with that and keep it more low key and be fine. I wish some of my favorite artists would shut the fuck up and stop doing, victory lap tours. I hate it.
I agree.
Especially when they lie and say, oh, we're breaking up, but for real this time, talking to you, Nine Inch Nails. Look, it's fine. Whatever. It is what it is. But I don't think Radiohead would ever do that. They will never tour just because. They have to have a record that they're proud of and they want to get behind. And I just think even if it was a little bit happenstance because of the pandemic thing, I think that's the reality now. is that the Smile is fun for them, and they like where they found themselves in that, and they don't need to. When we saw them, they're using the same road cases. This all says Radiohead on it, man.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't notice that.
Dude, it's all the same touring entourage. It's all the same people. Like I'm sure, and Nigel's producing the record. I mean, I would feel very left out and sad if I were Ed, Phil, or Colin, but I would also understand, and I would be like, I'll do my own thing or not. Just swim in my gold ducats like Scrooge McDuck.
What do you think, Walker?
I mean, I think there is a ton of validity to what you're saying, Noel. And I definitely think that while the Smile is happening, Tom and Johnny are not going to talk about doing more shit with Radiohead. They're clearly enjoying it. They have clearly made it a point of fact that this is not a side project. This is a new band.
Yeah.
Right. And the way they're playing these shows by debuting another album's worth of material at their live shows.
We didn't even bring that up. How cool is that? They're ready to go, baby.
Exactly.
And some of that stuff is dark and rocking and really sinister. Oh, it was so exciting to hear that stuff.
Now, the Smile, so I agree with you. The Smile is the priority. They're here to stay. That's the band that Tom and Johnny are in now. That's where we got to get our fix if we want it. And I'm very happy with it. I'm a huge fan of the record, and I'm a huge fan of the live show and all the stuff that they don't have studio versions of yet that I heard. The only thing I would push back on is I do think there is a different approach to Radiohead songs in arrangement. I think that the Smile wants to be, I think the record sounds a lot like a Radiohead record, but I think live they're clearly not arranging these songs where you would need a 5-piece band. They're making it with being able to reproduce it as a 3-piece in mind. And I think that it doesn't take it off the table that there could be a batch of songs that Tom writes that it's like, this is more of a Radiohead song than a Smile song. I think that to us, it may sound somewhat indistinct, but I think to him, he might have an idea of which songs are which, the same way he has an idea of which songs are solo tracks and which ones are Radiohead tracks.
I surely overstated the case a little bit in that. I think there is nuance, and I'm not saying Tom York is a one-trick pony or anything like that.
Of course not.
I'm with you. I'm with you with what you're saying. I think you're spot on, that there is nuance there. But to me, it's the same level of reinvention that happens between Radiohead records.
Sure. That's fair.
This could have been a Radiohead record, and I don't think anybody would have batted an eyelash or given it lesser accolades.
I agree with that completely. I agree with that completely. And look, I have decided to position myself on the podcast as the person who will be the lone holdout that Radiohead will ride again, because my thing is as much as I love the Smile, I have only seen Radiohead once, and I want to go to a concert that Tom York and Johnny play where I hear Karma Police, Paranoid Android.
I am coming from a place of privilege. I've seen them, 6 times at this point. So
check your privilege, Noel. You've seen them 6 times. Your privilege is showing here.
So it's a good point, I think, but it also does allow me to maybe be realistic, perhaps.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I think so.
There's that.
You've done your time, and look, here's what I do think. That was all a lead up to say, I have been really fought to admit that this is Radiohead saying goodbye. Zach has said more or less what you're saying on previous episodes, and I've been in the denial stage of grief and said, absolutely, this is not them intentionally saying goodbye. I feel differently. I do think that this record was made with them creating the contingency of, if this is how we go out, this is the one we want to go out on.
I love it.
I do think that's absolutely the case, but I also still will say, I think that if they wanted to release another Radiohead album, even if it was in 2030, if they knew that for sure they didn't want to do that, they would have publicly said, Radiohead's no more. That's done. Like Johnny and Tom have had every opportunity to say that, and they haven't. And I got to believe that that's for some reason. True Love waits. I say True Love waits for another Radiohead album.
I love
That's
that.
fair. Are you guys familiar with the final David Bowie album, Black Star?
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's
It's
a great
so
record.
good.
It's as good as my favorite of his
It's
periods.
shockingly good.
And the thing about it is, he knew he was dying.
Mhm.
He made that record as a goodbye. And while Radiohead isn't dying, or they're not like dead or whatever, this record has a similar air of finality to it that Black Star does for me.
And came
I-
out the same
I get
year as
that.
Black Star.
It did.
And does Radiohead not have a song named Black Star?
Blame it on that one. That's what you do.
There you go. Wow, I think we did it, guys.
I think
That
so
was awesome.
too.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
I really feel that I've adequately expressed my love for this album. I think that I just want to make sure, because it is the last studio Radiohead album, just that I properly and clearly say I really, really love this record. Very few nitpicks with it. I loved listening to it with both of you and getting your additional perspectives. It's so nice to get another point of view on these songs that Zach, I believe it was in our last week's episode, talked about that this album has been one that he really correlates with listening to alone. And so listening to it and discussing it together was kind of a new experience. I feel the same way. This has been kind of a solo endeavor, a Moon-Shaped Pool, up until listening to it with you. And I'd love to give both of you an opportunity to kind of express any final thoughts about the record that you may have if you haven't gotten those out.
I love everything you just said. I found a lot of new love for this album, and I loved that even on was it The Numbers or Identikit where I had that objection about the way the guitar was mixed. I can't recall now, but my second favorite song. I
was
loved even
Identikit.
how the conversation that was generated, how Noel, you were saying like, well, there's different versions and I want a more rockin' version. I just, like I said, I haven't gotten that opportunity. It's not that I don't know other Radiohead fans besides Walker who don't love a Moon-Shaped Pool, but like I listened to Kid A with one of my best friends for the first time when I ever first heard it. Like those are experiential and those are my favorites. And I really am just grateful I got the chance to experience Radiohead's most melancholy, mature album with two super fans. And just Noel, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really, really appreciate it. I loved getting to know you for this 2.5 hours we've been talking. It's been amazing.
Dude. What a pleasure for all the reasons that you just beautifully illuminated. But I mean, yeah, it's like I don't know. I don't do this often, right? Like I don't often. Actually, you know what? Let me rephrase that. One thing that's great about making records in my studio and I'm really lucky to have a lot of really incredible creative people in my life that I work with on my own stuff, and obviously influence goes into that a lot. And so there are opportunities where I'll hear a thing that we're working on, I'll immediately pull up a tune and be like, let's check this out. This reminds me of this. Let's all listen to this together. So that is sort of the way that I get to have that. It's neat because then you can immediately translate that to a choice that you're making musically in the studio, whether it be an instrument that you choose or a piece of gear or a technique or, a time signature change, something compositional or whatever. But I used to do this a lot more often with friends, just sitting around getting stoned and, talking about music. And it's not something I do as much in this way. These albums are like friends, it sounds so corny, but I didn't have to listen to this album before coming on because it's just like it's there, it's and that's again one reason I've been giving King of Limbs a bit of a hard time is because that's the case for all of their records for me except that one. So something must be awry, or either I just maybe it was a time in my life when that came out and I need to revisit it. But I did not listen to it though. I definitely listened to it and then gave it its due. It's not like I just was in a bad mood and decided to give this Radiohead album a miss, but this one I hold it in the same esteem as I hold OK Computer, I would say I hold it higher than Hail to the Thief. I think overall it's a better record than Hail to the Thief. It's more focused. Hail to the Thief is another one that's just a little, it's amazing, but I would say it's got some songs that could have been left off. But thank you guys so much for having me and being such thoughtful, swell guys who, have pretty damn good taste in bands.
Oh, that's very flattering. Thank you, Nolan. It's just like great. I mean, I wasn't blowing smoke when I say I'm a listener to stuff they don't want you to know. I was also a listener to Movie Crush, and I love that we're getting to meet people from the world of podcasting who are being so cool, like welcoming us into the fray and into this space, and finding out that we have this shared love of Radiohead. It's just such a great point to start from, and I've really, really enjoyed talking to you.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah.
I do it. They'll do it anytime. We go into the new Radiohead record when that one definitely comes out.
Let's say that right now. If Radiohead, because we had you on the last one, I think if this no longer is the last Radiohead record, you have to come back. Are you willing to commit to that?
Yeah, and I'll come and I will eat my shoe. For being so definitive in my assessment of the situation.
Yeah, that's right.
I would love to be proved wrong, but again, now see, I'm going back again. I'm back. I just don't feel like it's necessary. I feel like they've said what they have to say with that group, and now they're doing something different. And like, what is it about the personnel they left behind that is so crucial that they'd have to go back?
Ed's big dick. That's what.
Yeah. I want to hear. He's got that shaker action down to a science, man.
Do you think when Ed
it's a prehensile dick? It's like a sloth's tail.
Well, I was also thinking since you're saying that like Ed and Colin and Phil probably don't feel that great about the smile. I was picturing like that scene in The Jerk where Ed, is like picking up things from the studio and be like, I've got my shaker and my Ebo, and that's all I need.
That's all. I'm going to start a band called The Frown because I'm sad.
All right, folks, you heard it here. When the new Radiohead record comes out in 2042 is when it's going to happen.
Oh, that's a go. Wow, we're getting really specific with our predictions now. I dig it. Yes.
And me and Noel will have a little more gray in our beards, and Zach maybe finally will have lost a little bit of that volume on that beautiful head of hair of his that I talk about. We know he's not a beard guy. He brings the clean shaven energy to the pod.
I love it.
Oh, you know what? Last thing. Anything that you want to plug that you don't plug on your podcast? You want listeners to check out?
I wish I had like music that I was working on actually out in the world, but like I've got some projects of my own that I'm kind of wood shedding, workshopping, those things. But then I also am working with like several really amazing artists that I think are going to have records out in the next year or so. So just look for those. Whatever. Actually, there are so a band that I used to play with that I'm making a record with right now, a guy by the name of Sean Piazza, Shaun, and we have 2 records out in the world that we made many years ago when I was younger, and we made them in this amazing studio in Athens called Chase Park Transductions with a guy named David Barbie, who is in a band called Sugar with Bob Mould from Husker Du, and he produces all the Drive-By Truckers records, and this is like a really fabulous studio. Making some really incredible, important records out of that studio. Faye Webster at all?
I love Faye Webster. I've seen
all
her
those records
3 times.
All those records are recorded there and produced by the amazing Drew Vandenberg, who, when I started recording there, was like the little kid kind of who was there as the intern. He just kind of stuck around, and now he's become a really important producer who's working on some of my favorite records.
Wow.
Faye Webster included an artist called Spelling with 3 L's. It's actually from your neck of the woods, Walker, from Oakland.
Oh, cool.
If you ever hear of Spelling with 3 L's, it is some of the most psychedelic, witchy. It's like King Crimson meets Radiohead meets Sade or something. Absolutely. Okay. The record's called The Turning Wheel. It is a masterpiece, I think. And Drew produced that or mixed that rather at Chase Park. But Sean Piazza and Sean Piazza Band, we have 2 records on Spotify that I played guitar and sang on and helped kind of arrange. And then a band that I had when I was younger, we made a record there as well, a band called the Cubists. We have a record called Mechanical Advantage that is still on there from I think 2005, and I'm still very proud of it. There's some things on it that are a little dated. You could tell that I was really into the Postal Service for this one song. Some of the songs sort of show their influences a little bit, but I'm still very proud of it. And now I honestly feel like some of the work I'm making now is the best I've ever been associated with and best I've ever made. But those are things that I've played on that you can't hear that do exist in the world.
And listeners, when we were kind of setting things up with Noel and initially just met him through the podcast, Instagram, direct message, whatnot, Noel sent over a cut of a song we've been working on, and it was so awesome. And I think you mentioned it as a track you've been dusting off. So Noel, would love to follow up on a lot of the music that you've made and listen to it. I was really, really excited just to hear that one track. And I hope our listeners will do the same. But yeah,
there will be releases. I'm just at a place now where it's like,
Sure.
I don't want to just dump it out into the abyss. Like even if I pay for it out of my own pocket, I want there to be a vinyl. If I believe in it and I love it enough,
Hell yeah.
I want there to be a proper way to listen to it, because that's the way I love to listen to the music that really means something to me. So
Hell yeah.
I just feel like we're in such a disposable culture with music that I don't want to contribute to that. Like I know you have to, if you're trying to promote yourself, you got to play the game a little bit. But if I'm going to put something out there, I want it to be something that I really am fully behind and have a vinyl release of and all that. So be on the lookout, but those are some ways you can hear projects that I've worked on.
That's awesome. And I'll tell you what, all those links are in the show notes where listeners can go just check out directly the bands and projects that Noel just mentioned. And I would also just say, go ahead and follow Noel on social media if you're not already following him through his podcast, so you can stay abreast of it when those new projects do come out. What's your social media, Noel?
Yeah, I have my personal, I'm really just mess with Instagram. It's How Now Noel Brown. And I actually recently started a social media account for my studio called The Rainbow Cave, which is just the _rainbow_cave. And that's where you'll start to see little drips and drabs of some of the projects I'm working on start to kind of come out into the world. But also, if you're in the Atlanta area and you want to make a record, you can also hit me up there and we can talk, because it's a lot of fun things. And again, a lot of it is like on my left here, I'm looking at a Space Echo, which is it's a copy of a modern copy of a Space Echo, which is like the sound of Paranoid Android. I'm looking at a Prophet synth right here that is the sound of like everything in its right place. So a lot of the choices that I've made for my studio are directly resulting from my fandom of Radiohead and Nigel and their choices of gear and overly expensive toys.
Well, and do I see an analog tape reel to reel behind you too?
I've got two of them, and you can actually just link them together and do that sound on sound kind of stuff like Robert Fripp did, with like Brian Eno on like the Evening Star record, or you can actually use it as a slapback delay by feeding it into itself and creating like feedback by literally feeding the signal. That's what feedback is in a delay. So I don't use those for they're kind of shitty sounding, but in a cool way. So if I was going to use those, I would loop them into a mixer and then have the signal feeding back into itself. So you can pro tip for anyone that's out there and has a old reel-to-reel laying around, you can make it into a dubby, delay, a tape delay, just by using a little crappy, consumer grade sound mixer.
Yeah, but don't hurt yourself doing that, listeners. Hire Noel to produce your album. Go see him at the Rainbow Cave studio.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's great. Listeners can check out all those projects, and we'll also put a tune of yours just at the end of the show that people can dig on while they're listening to this too.
And this is like, you can Radiohead influence on sleeve. Here is a tune I did with my friend Brandon, who's doing the lead vocal, called "What the Papers Are Saying."
Ooh,
dig
I like
it.
that.
All right. Well, Noel, thank you so much again for being here. This was a blast, and we'll see you when Radiohead drops their new album.
I can't wait, because that's definitely going to happen.
And listeners, we'll see you next week on a Friday with another episode of Idiot Talk. The band may be done for now, but the podcast continues. I have been Walker Glenn.
I'm Zach Glenn.
And you take care. We'll see you next week.
You said I will come.
Idiotalk is a Glenn Brothers production. Get in touch with us at idiotalk.podcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at idiotalk.podcast. Thanks for listening to